Okay, so um, Globebusters Season 2, Episode number 2. That was the first time I ever joined any kind of chat live or anything. First time I ever did a show at all, and I was a guest on Globebusters. And when I went on there, they had a guy on there named CD, also known as Take Back Space, and he was talking about a bunch of stuff that really didn't really have to do with Flat Earth that much. And the thing is, before I had been on the show, I had already been attacking Jaron and his wife, just on personal stuff, because I felt like he was plagiarizing me. I really couldn't prove it, but it was one of those synchronicity things where you're like, man, this guy's saying everything that I've already said or everything that I think he's like saying it all. It's like, where's this guy getting this stuff from? He must be listening to me. He must be biting off my stuff. So I was just mad, and so I started insulting him, and then we kind of made up, and I kind of apologized, and then Bob was like, you're a great guy. Come on the show. I go on the show. They didn't talk to me about any of my stuff at all. All it was the other guests just like kind of blabbing. So I got really mad, and then like a week or two later, I was listening back to the episode that I had been on, and my girlfriend was like, man, they didn't even ask you anything about your stuff. They didn't do this, they didn't do that, they didn't do this. And I was like, man, you're right. So I was like, fuck these guys. So I made hit pieces. I made one called The Top Brass, and I made one called Flat Earth Cutthroats. I made Flat Earth Cutthroats first, and it was just me bitching and moaning. And then, but then Bob saw that and called me up on Skype and was like, what are you doing, man? I thought we were cool. And I was like, hey, fuck you, buddy. And then he was like, no, he's like, well, that's really unfortunate. And it was just a lot of my pride and my ego, and I proceeded to then that was the night before they had Max Egan on their show, and then Max Egan. So I took the video down, and then Max Egan came on their show, and I realized, I didn't realize, but I thought to myself, well, damn, Bob was just playing me to get my hit piece down, Hello.
Gotcha. I'm following you. Yeah, you were on the show, and you felt like you weren't really allowed to speak, and you're maybe sort of taken advantage of.
Kind of, but at the same time, it was really my own fault because I had never even done a live show before. I didn't really understand the dynamics of how things work on a show. I was super, super nervous, so a lot of it was pretty much my fault, not their fault at all. If I would have been more assertive, I would have probably been more of a presence in the show. And I mean, and I can't even say that it's a good thing that, well, there's a lot of pride involved, a lot of my pride, and a lot of it's just my stupidity and my negativity. Bob saw that I had made that video, convinced me to take it down. Then they went on the air with Max, and for some reason I was infuriated, so I put the video back up, and then I proceeded to make another video. And that one was called The Top Brass, and that one was full of crap and lies, too, and just me being frustrated. And then I left it up for a long time. Those videos each had like 1,000 hits or 1,500 hits or something. And then I decided randomly, I was like, you know what? I don't want to do this. I'm going to take these down. Because they were just too much. It was just too over the top. And I just kind of let it sit there. I let it stay like that for a while. And then the beef between me, people like me and Nathan, for example, people like me and Patricia, me and Bob, me and Jaron, it just continued to go along. And then with this whole debacle with Jed and Tim, and when Tim like invaded my show and everything, I started thinking to myself, you know what? These people that are flat earthers, fellow flat earthers, they're actually pretty cool to me. And these other guys I've been messing with have burned me. So there's no reason why I need to be cool with these people when the actual flat earth proponents, people I used to call the top brass, were actually pretty fucking cool people. So I decided, you know what? I'm going to apologize to those people, and I'm going to go back and try to, make amends with them.
I see. Well, what did Tim and Jed do to you? Just they disagreed about the shape of the Earth, and then they called you out about it. And I know Tim sniped your show, right?
Yeah, Tim invaded my show. But that had all started because out of nowhere, Jed, who was pretty much a flat earther, he'll claim that he wasn't, but he pretty much was. And all of a sudden, one day, he decided he was going to go against everything he had said. He started making all these videos about the moon, which proves absolutely nothing. And I just left him alone, and he got mad because he was supposedly getting death threats when he was doing that. And since I wasn't there to have his back, now he was mad at me. And the next thing you know, Tim's emailing me, saying you're going to pay and all this shit. And I'm like, well, what the fuck? And then so I accused Jed privately in an email saying, why the fuck you give Tim my email? When he could have, he might not have, he might not have. I can't prove either way. I did put my email out publicly, so I can't really exactly blame Jed. So maybe I was in the wrong. But Tim emailed me, and I was like really pissed. And then Jed was like, well, screw you, VB. And then, he was up Tim's ass at the time, so it was easy for him to make a new alliance and to shed the old one, which was me.
Damn. I don't know.
Can I add something?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Wow. I mean, I'm all for people taking ownership, and what I've just heard has left me pretty much, speechless. Jesus, to hear a hater take full ownership of what they are and what they've done and the reasons and the whys and the wherefores. I'm almost speechless. I just can't believe what I've heard. Live confession, just amazing. Well done, mate. My hat is off to you.
Are you speaking of me, Nathan?
Yeah, geez, you've basically you've pointed the fingers back at yourself and gone, well, let's analyse what I've done here, and gone, yeah, it's basically down to me. And that's just awesome, because most of this shit is people's own doing, and to hear it actually said though is just another level, man. Well done.
Yeah, I got to try to be honest.
The thing is, I don't know. I relate to Tim because I think what he's doing is he sees it the way I see it, as that the flat Earth is a massive lie. I sympathize with flat earthers because I think, the arguments for flat Earth are not that bad, right? They do, if you don't know a lot about science and how the world works, you could easily, I thought for a minute the Earth might be flat, but the problem is every time I research all these evidences that the Earth is flat, they completely either fall apart or prove that it's a globe. So I'm left to question, why are these people like Jeranism and Eric Dubay pushing this idea that's clearly not true? And it causes a lot of division, I think, because it's an obvious lie. So I feel like there's a lot of snake oil salesmen in the alternative media, people selling crystals and colloidal silver will cure cancer or whatever the hell they'll say. And a lot of it's not true, and I think people like Tim and Jed Skeptic are doing a good thing when they point out things that are true and things that aren't true.
But I've never heard them point out anything that's actually scientifically debunking the flat Earth. So.
Really?
Yeah, man. What are you talking about?
Well, I mean, yeah. Jed Skeptic did it for me, but go ahead, Nathan.
I was just going to say, I'd love to hear it too.
The fact that there's two celestial spheres and the star trails on the equator, that really solidified that we live on a ball for me. And the more I look into it, the more I find, especially when I've been looking at the history of flat Earth, and all these ideas we're getting are just recycled ideas that people were pushing 150 years ago. These Masons who were proven wrong back then and laughed at back then. And it's these, I don't know if it's Masons doing it now, but they're following the model of Masons. Maybe they're parodying them, or maybe someone saw an opportunity to start a cult or make some money. I don't know what's going on, but I can't see any other explanation for it. And sort of reminds me of this passage I read in Morals and Dogma, where the Masons talk about, I had it handy here. What does he say? He says, The force of the people is exhausted in indefinitely prolonging things long since dead and governing mankind by embalming old dead tyrannies of faith, restoring dilapidated dogmas, regaling faded, worm-eating shrines, whitening and roguing ancient and barren superstitions, saving society by multiplying parasites, perpetrating supernatural institutions, enforcing the worship of symbols as the actual means of salvation, and tying the dead corpse of the past, mouth to mouth, with the living present. And I just feel like we're repeating history with this whole Flat Earth movement, and it's funny because the original Flat Earth movement spawned at the beginning of this printing press, right? Which is sort of what we're going through now with this internet revolution and social media. It's just a lot of coincidences of history repeating itself I'm seeing here.
Well, I got two separate things to say about that. First off, there is no...
Sorry, just to summarize. So your reason for living on a sphere is because of the two celestial spheres and because 150 years ago there was a Masonic deception which was laughed at. That's it. That's your reason for living on a sphere.
I think you can tell by, like, when the sun sets, it stays the same size. There's that. There's, like, so much stuff. I can show you some other things here. Hold on a second.
Well, there's a little point I got to slip in there. When you start talking about dogma and stuff like that, there is no inherent fallacy in dogma or being dogmatic. That does not mean that you're lying. It just means that you believe something. So when people are saying, if you're equating dogmatism to lying, that's a complete fallacy.
Who said that?
Jed did. Jed went on for like 30 minutes in his last show saying that dogma this, dogma that. There is no inherent fallacy in being dogmatic. There's no lie in the definition of dogmatism. You know
so this to me also kills the flat earth, right? Because when we increase our elevation, we can see greater distances, and that is only possible on a sphere earth. I think this illustration is a good example. And if you want video evidence, I have right here, we can watch the sunset twice by simply increasing in elevation. And this is not possible on a flat plane. If it's setting because of perspective, our increased elevation would not be able to bring it back into view because it would still be beyond our perspective.
Well, perspective also doesn't have anything to do with obstruction at all. Even when you look at those perspective maps, it goes to a certain point and everything gets smaller horizontally as well as vertically. It doesn't just disappear from bottom up. That's not perspective. You guys cannot use that as an argument.
When I looked into the Bedford experiment that was done by Masons, it's a bunch of bullshit, and it was proven wrong by this guy Wallace. But the flat earthers basically responded the way they do now, where they deny evidence and they ad hoc or straw man everything.
Well, no, so you're saying the Earth is so big that when we go up in the air, so you're saying the Earth is so big that when we go higher and higher up in the air and we still see nothing but flat plane, that the Earth must be just that. Just
so, P-Mars, can you bring up one of the videos?
So we're just going to talk over each other? So we'll just talk over each other
I'm
then.
sorry,
no,
Valley,
we'll just talk over each other. I'm
can...
going to keep talking. I'm going to just keep talking then, since we're just going to talk over each other like that, huh?
Well, we could bring up the video probably that you're talking about.
Let's keep talking over each other.
Because you're actually saying that it's
yeah,
left when
let's
it's
keep talking
not.
over each other,
Yo,
Tim. Let's just keep talking over each other.
Just let him talk,
so...
and then you can respond to him. Okay, let's not talk over each other. So just...
Absolutely, go ahead, VB.
So anyways, the Earth is so big that when you go up, you continue to see flat plane, but then it's so small that your little boat over the horizon trick works. See that cognitive dissonance you got going on there?
Can I answer now? Okay, so seeing the curvature of the actual Earth is different from seeing obstruction. Seeing obstruction would be, say, a mountain very, very far away, or a boat that goes over the curvature. But if you're going to see, you're going to have to go very high to see the curvature, and you do start to see curvature even in the dog cam videos that you guys like to play. There actually is curvature on there. It is not a flat plane. So it kind of just debunks what you just said.
Well, then the boat going over the ocean. Right on the ocean.
That's why I wanted him to bring up a video while you were talking about it, so that we could check to see if you draw a straight line in Photoshop, I'll do it. Shit.
But it hasn't been.
There is curve, so you can't say that it's completely flat.
What should I search?
On a computer program?
Video.
Dog cam, like balloon launch or something. I think that's the one they use. Usually goes up to 120-ish thousand feet, I believe.
This one, I think, the second one.
I think that'd be good. Yeah.
Yeah, I could probably make that better.
Yeah, go further in the video when it's up.
Why is it night? Okay, here we go.
There you go. So these are not using GoPro lenses, obviously, which are a conspiracy in and of themselves to flat earthers, even though they don't understand that if you were to see the Earth from, say, the top left corner of the screen to the right bottom of the screen, and it actually has curvature, that doesn't explain the lens itself. That's not how the convexity of the lens works. So we do see concave to convex when it goes upside down, but when it crosses, like I said, from the top left to the bottom right, there is curvature, and that does not explain through a GoPro lens.
However, this footage only shows a segment. It's not showing the entire alleged sphere.
Well, truthfully, we are the ones actually providing the evidence of your claim. So, like, if you could, can you screen share and bring up, you said that it's always flat, the higher you go. So, I've looked at many videos.
The ISS, so there you go. That's the
Oh,
curve they first. I mean,
Nathan, do you want me to screen share you, or your cam's on or something?
Yeah, Nathan, I don't know about the ISS, man. I'm not gonna. That's the whole thing with me, bro. It's like, I think that there might be a conspiracy with NASA and maybe a geocentric Earth, possibly, but nothing has anything to do with flat Earth, and that could have been a curveball thrown when people were asking questions about moon landings and other things about the validity of them, and a lot of people just kind of fell in love with the flat Earth idea, and they continue to push it.
I agree with Tim, because I feel like if the flat Earth movement was real grassroots and not being from these Masons or whatever you want to call it, they wouldn't call it the flat Earth movement. They would call it like globe skeptic at the very least, or geocentric.
Well, hindsight is 2020 though, P Mars. These people did come out, and who knows? We would have probably done the same thing and yelled flat Earth from the top of the mountains. But yeah, now a lot of them are backtracking. A lot of them are saying, maybe to the Dell stance, where it's a no stancery kind of thing, or down to Jeranism, where he's just kind of like, he's kind of backpedaling a little bit. At least he kind of admitted after 2 years of research that he found out that the celestial poles don't make sense on the flat Earth. I'm really excited about that, guys.
So until you learn that it's a globe as a child, you pretty much assume it's flat.
I don't know if that could be validated, because I don't really remember, like, testing my reality at a young age. It's just everything's so complex as it is. You're learning languages, you're learning all kinds of different things. So I don't know, man. I don't remember, truthfully, for me.
That's a good point, and that's totally fair. I totally agree.
Yeah.
With you. And the thing is, though, is that I would project, now this is total speculation, but I would project that if someone was never taught the globe, that into their teen years and into their 20s, they would live their life and they'd look around and they'd say, I bet this is just a big flat thing. That's what they would say before someone comes along and teaches them, no, you're living on this ball with all this crazy math and all this stuff.
No, I probably agree with that, man. And I've said before, it's basically such a big sphere and we're so small compared to it. It basically is flat compared to our perspective. But, a lot of these curvature maths and all these different things are just kind of fallacious in themselves, because, like I tried to show earlier, you're taking a tangent line, through the Earth basically to get to a different destination. And that's just not how the Earth works. If you're doing legitimate science, you would do it from the radius of the Earth, and it's a level unless there's topography on top of that. But I guess you would have to have the presupposition to begin with that the Earth is a globe. So
I think a lot of people. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
You've danced over the contradiction twice now. So you've said it's obstruction, but they still teach us that the boats are going over the curve of the Earth. That's what they're telling us. And
Yes, they are going over the curve of the Earth, to your perspective. But this is the whole thing that you got to kind of grasp is that, like I said, when you're seeing, Chicago's cityscape or whatever, and it's below the horizon, that's obstruction.
Right.
Now, when you're going up and you're looking for the actual curve of the Earth,
amazing.
it's different. That's not the same thing.
Here, let Nathan get his point.
Yeah, I think he was having troubles or something.
Oh.
Hopefully he'll come back.
Yeah, I guess he was robot-y. You're right.
Okay.
But you're right. Like Rob Skiba's video of the Chicago skyline, he proves the round Earth. He shows obstruction. Yeah. And what's funny is when I was looking at the history of this at the Bedford experiment, it was based on this bet between Wallace and this crazy guy who inherited money from his father, so he's probably like really self-important and like a huge loser or something, like, and he was a crazy Christian fundamentalist telling people the Earth was flat. John Hampton, I think was his name, and so like they did an experiment, before NASA, before satellites, before any of this shit, and they showed curve on the Bedford experiment. They showed curve. And the flat earthers will look through the experiment, see the results, and just deny the results and just say, nah, it proves it's flat. And that's what I feel like the modern day flat earthers do. And I don't...
Well, they do that with Aries failure in the Sonyak experiment. They completely misrepresented it. It was called Aries failure. It was a failure to detect the ether. And basically... I've heard several different ways they explain that whole thing, and it's always, of course, in the favor of their confirmation bias, the flat Earth. Hopefully Nathan didn't get mad and leave because he thought I was talking over him, because I couldn't even hear him. I think he was roboting.
Yeah, Nathan, you were roboting. I don't think Tim meant to silence you. We'll definitely give you time to talk if we can hear you.
Yeah, Nathan.
Yeah, my bad.
Please, Nathan, join back.
But I don't blame people for thinking the Earth was flat. I thought it might be flat for a minute, and the arguments aren't as bad as you would expect, because flat earthers are mocked. It's definitely synonymous with pseudoscience and lies, basically, or anti-science. So I totally get the whole, why don't you want me to talk about this type thing? Maybe I'll look into it, because that's sort of what rebels do. In fact, media or sometimes music companies would want their records to be like parental advisory and not sold in stores, right? Remember, that would be a big news story, like Walmart, or it wasn't Walmart back in the day, it'd be like Best Buy refuses to carry the new Public Enemy CD because the lyrics are offensive. That's a marketing tactic, because then they'll go to the other store and buy it, and more people will buy it because they'll be like, ooh, we're not supposed to listen to this.
Yep.
Just like cigarettes. That's what the whole truth cigarette, anti-cigarette ad campaign is all about, marketing cigarettes, because now they're cool and dangerous.
And we got
Nathan's back. Awesome.
I'll turn you up, Nathan. Maybe that'll help.
Yeah, you were a robot, dude. I didn't mean to talk over you, if I was.
Okay.
You guys know what I'm talking about with the anti-tobacco truth campaign or whatever?
Yeah, they're all co-opted, man. All of them.
Well, they're basically marketing the coolness and danger of cigarettes to the young people that are not supposed to be smoking.
And I think New Age shills do that with the DMT. Like, they're pushing people to do DMT, and I know Tim likes to do that shit. But I don't think that stuff is for everyone, and that's what the CIA was doing with the Grateful Dead. They're promoting the use of LSD. So it's like, why are you guys doing the same thing the CIA was doing during, the late 60s, 70s?
To be fair, it could be argued that... Well, hold on. Forget it, sorry.
That's not really a flat earth thing. Like, Chris Geo does it a lot. He just has all these shows, and he'll just talk about these trips he took. It's like, oh my god, that's his material, I guess. It's like, I don't know why people try and market that. Like, I'm going to market spirituality. Like, what the fuck is that? I don't know. I hate a lot of the charlatan snake oil shit, and because I really sympathize with flat earthers, because I'm a conspiracy theorist. I was laughed at for saying 9/11 was an inside job, so I want to help people not fall victim to another scam, I guess, if I could. It's not like I'm trying to troll people or anything.
Well,
We're all about the truth here, I think.
let's take a step back though. If you look at the hippie thing and the drug thing that the government was pushing, I mean, it can be argued that they were trying to sedate and quell people from really getting together and really discovering some stuff. Or the idea that I'm even thinking that could have been something that was put into my head too. See?
Well, look, even if the CIA had an intent or did something, it doesn't mean that it's always successful in the way that it works out or it turns out, such as I think pot could be implemented, even more in the United States. And I think, God, I forgot where I was going with that.
Drugs are good.
Too much pot.
You've been doing
Shit.
too many.
Tim, what you're trying to say
just to say, maybe they think that this drug will have, because they did testings, they release it like LSD. I think it might have, like a double-edged, triple-edged kind of sword kind of thing, because a lot of people that do LSD do expand their minds. A lot of people that do smoke pot do expand their minds and think differently sometimes, and also sometimes are generally against, government figures and such.
But then you would assume that the government would then put those substances out there, get the people fired up about something they're not sure what they're fired up about, and then they co-opt it.
That's kind of like the libtard movement, man. They totally co-opted that.
I think Nathan wanted to say. Do you want to say something, Nathan?
Oh, go ahead, Nathan.
I was just going to ask a question. I don't want to interrupt.
Go ahead. No, it's okay. We're just babbling. Go ahead.
I was just going to ask you, the people who think you're on a globe, where do you see flat Earth deception? So, in other words, what I'm showing you now is huge, massive amounts of money being spent on deception, right? That is akin to telling people they live on a globe. So I can very easily show you where I see deception. Whereas what I want you to show me is where you see flat Earth deception. What is it that's telling you it's like what I'm seeing on screen now?
Well, what I see is denial. For you even to have that presupposition and share that with us, that everything is fake that NASA is doing, is not really a valid argument, because you are not able to justify that in any way possible. Just because a lot of conspiracy theorists on YouTube like to think that NASA's all fake and everything's fake or whatever, the moon landing, all this shit, doesn't mean that it's true. So in terms of your argument, it's presuppositional.
But
That's not nice. So I'm saying, right, you're saying you've turned it back on me, which is clever. But what I'm asking you to give me is, where is the example, like I'm giving you now, of a globe deception? Now you can say that's presuppositional, and I can agree with you. But show me a flat Earth deception. What is it, other than maps, which have been around for a long time? Show me something akin to what I'm showing you that would make you think, yeah, man, flat Earth's a massive deception. Look at all the money they're pumping into it.
I don't know if I'd call it a deception, I think it's more like a cult, like it's a religion, like, because when you look at
what's the payoff?
When you look at the history, a lot of these Masons, even like the concave earthers, like look at Lord Stephen Christ. I think he's the best example. They see they can question alternative cosmology as a way to start a cult, and the Bible is a flat Earth book, so they go hand in hand, and it works pretty well. And then, I mean, they've talked about back in the 18th century, they talked about using it as a way to make money. I don't know. I'm not going to even try and argue that the top brass of flat earthers are making a lot of money, even though I think they are. But I think even without that aside, like, I see it as a way to basically create this religion, this cult based off a false premise, I guess. I don't know. And
I think the deception is the flat Earth in and of itself. I believe that it is a psyop. I think that it basically was put out to muddy the waters on anything that could be legitimate, such as 9/11 and other things. So I saw it from the very beginning. Mark Sargent's clues were plastered up there saying, these people are the same people that believe in 9/11 and Sandy Hook and all this kind of stuff. So I kind of saw where that was leading to. It doesn't mean that it's a complete deception, but I think it is. I think that it is because everybody in the past that proposed it, Sir Samuel Robotham, the fucking Freemason, you know, he was known for selling snake oil, quite literally, if you do research on him, and all these figures that have, you know, anything to do with flat Earth that are propped up there just because they're talking about flat Earth. If you actually do research into them, it doesn't fit the paradigm that you guys like to try to funnel yourself into.
Sure, but just to repeat it back to you, so you're saying while I've got a picture of the ISS feed, the internals of the ISS, you're saying that the parallel to that in Flat Earth is Mark Sargent with his Flat Earth Clues, which is a load of screenshot slides, and Robotham from 100 years ago. That's what you're telling me.
I don't want to make a false analogy because you've put me in a false dilemma to begin with. You say, I think this is fake, so you come up with something that is, you know, the same thing in the flat Earth. Well, that's not fake to me. So how am I supposed to come up with something that it's a false dilemma, dude?
Sure, but you're saying there's a deception being perpetrated, and that deception is flat Earth. And when I ask you to pin that down, you just say, well, it's a deception in and of itself, which I'm like, well,
yes.
Okay.
Look what's happened in the past 2 years. I was in the truth or troll community for years before the flat Earth, and I saw what happened. I mean, everybody was fractured by this flat Earth idea, and it completely lost any legitimacy for people talking about things like 9/11 and the money system and the debt-based society and all these things that really do matter to us.
Well, Tim,
I come to those things through flat Earth. I mean, I've got flat Earth into quotation marks now because what I'm talking about in this context isn't the shape of the Earth. I mean, I felt like you talked over me, but I just see that there's one contradiction in that's, boats over the horizon. Validation Boy summed it up the first thing he said. He just did it beautifully, and we've danced around that. But that's not what I'm talking about now, because I'm talking about in brackets, flat Earth, which is me, Mark Sargent, Patricia Steer, Jaron, those people, who are just like the same as you. We're just people, whereas I know you're saying I'm putting you in a false paradigm to say, well, look, there's huge amounts of money being perpetrated on going to space, going to the moon. These are the same people with the same lie. They're contradicting themselves and spending a shitload of money on it. I do see that as deception. It goes without saying.
Because you've put yourself into that paradigm where you think that this is all connected, that these are the same people doing this, that every dollar of $50 million a day is just thrown into some rich guy's, 401k or something. I mean, dude,
The moon and the ISS. So specifically, we've got NASA saying we can't leave Earth, we can't breach the Van Allen belt.
That was taken out of context. That was taken totally out of context. I hope you can go and watch Gem Panda and wonder and understand why that was taken out of context.
Okay, MIT say that there's a hard and fast layer. They describe it as being a glass ceiling. There's plenty of people saying this, that we're in a closed system. All the rest of it, these are the same sources, NASA included, who say this. But they've been to the moon. It makes no sense. You know it, I know it. You can dance around it as much as you like. But these are the people still spending the money. They're still putting out this shit. So that's where I see.
Yeah, but I live in America, man, and I pay taxes. And I find value in what they do. I know that their equipment alone that they buy is ridiculous, and they're huge warehouses that they have to keep heated, and the people they pay and all this stuff that they go out, these NASA employees go out and feed the economy. And that's how our economy works in the United States. And it's like these people in UK and Scotland are so worried about what NASA is doing, when really they have their own European Space Agency that's supposedly faking everything as well.
Sure. So that's what I'm trying to say. So when you've got that, what does Mark Sargent matter? It's just some dude on YouTube. Who's his shit?
Because he's perpetrating lies and he's muddied the waters in a movement that could have actually done something. I'm done with it. I don't care. It's done.
What?
But
okay, I gotta jump in.
Done.
Let's say
I gotta jump in.
Who cares? Let's say I completely agree.
I did care, and you know why I care. I cared about 9/11 truth, brother, and that's why I was in it since 2006. So
okay, I gotta jump in right here, guys. I got to. Sorry. So let me ask you this, Tim. Okay, let's say flat Earth had never come along. Okay, where would you see the 9/11 truth movement? Still just pretty much a bunch of YouTubers. There's no activism. There's nothing really happening. You know,
There was
still talking about,
activism. There's
okay,
people
and
that
there
go
was no
to
effect.
the memorials
But
every year and have
what
signs and stuff.
and what effect did it ever have? Did
Well,
anyone ever get in trouble for anything? No.
at
Okay, it's
least
all a
at
big
least
scam.
50. I think that there was a poll out that 50% or around 50% of New Yorkers alone think that there was something fishy about 9/11. I mean,
And so what does that do for anybody? What's the big payoff there? Did anything change? No. You know what I'm saying?
well, it's kind of baby steps, I guess, for some of these people. You guys understand that the mainstream media gobblers need to be kind of eased into it, and it's not something like, "Hey, the Earth is flat." It's more something like, "Hey, you know, you've worked for 40 years, and now you're getting screwed over. Look at this database society, and look at, you know, the Jekyll Island, all this, you know, all this shit, and you know, look at." Some of these things that were happening, you know, Kennedy's times, Operation Northwoods and such. You know,
Okay.
it was about kind of informative, but then it kind of got like auto hoaxy, flat earthy, just out there nutbags. I mean, it's just total mentalness now.
I can see the hippie thing and the DMT and the LSD thing being used as an attack and damaging, but I don't see flat Earth, as small as you like to say it is, you know, doing any damage to the people, or, you know, making the government control the people any more or any less than they already do.
I was making videos about the news articles that were coming out that people read, the mainstream people read, that they see that, wow, these idiots on YouTube believe the Earth is flat and it's tied in with 9/11, piss drinking, all this other shit, where it doesn't.
Is it really
need
tied
to
in with
be.
those things?
Yes, I have videos that I could probably
Yeah,
pull up.
I know for a fact. I used to analyze the media a lot after 9/11. I kind of got out of the truth movement because I saw it going this way, as Tim has pointed out, in like 2011-ish. And
Jeff C.
right after the
Yeah.
9/11, though, I would like to point out that the media tried their ass off to tie anyone who thought 9/11 was an inside job to a neo-Nazi Jew basher. And what do a lot of
Yep.
these guys like
Yep.
Eric Dubé do? Blame the Jews on everything. Well, that's another great way to discredit
Yep.
yourself. Hi, I'm a flat earther. I hate Jews, and oh yeah, 9/11 was an inside
That was in there
job.
too. That was in there too. The Nazi deniers. Nazi deniers is in there as well. So they hit on all these notes for people. Say these idiots think flat Earth and all these other dumb ideas that some of them are actually true and happening.
I would just like
And
to say,
it
can I just say real quick too? I'm all
Go
about
ahead.
political correctness is a way to control the way we talk to each other and express ideas, and it's not cool. But we have to realize and be intelligent that the general public is aware of political correctness, and they're trained. We have to be aware that the general public is trained to say anyone who says flat Earth idiot, anyone who says Nazi hater, like they're synonymous. So why are we gonna like go tell people we are these things? That's what they're training us to do that, so we sound stupid to people, dude.
So we fight each other. So we fight each other over red or blue, or you know, Denver Broncos or San Diego Chargers. I mean,
Well, no, that's an unreasonable conclusion to draw.
Really?
So you've got plenty of people that are saying that we are ridiculing flat Earth, which, you would call it my opinion, is obvious and observable. And in many of the heliocentric nonsenses that are out there, they even say it, that it's observably flat to this point, but it's not because of X, Y, and Z. So if that's the standard, if that's what you see and observe, flatness, and you're told to ridicule that, shouldn't that raise red flags? Especially as if we were to eradicate flat Earth, if I was to never breathe through Earth, I'd still think I'm on a spinning ball flying through space. How much more progress do you feel you'd have actually made on 9/11, considering that essentially sod all's happened before flat Earth even got here? So you're saying you're going to have a bit more of sod all after flat Earth not having interfered with...
No matter how people want to paint the 9/11 picture, there's still action to this day that people do. We got the 28 pages redacted. I mean, there was, people pushed Trump to reinvestigate it and things like that. So 9/11 is still a big topic, and it's
in Braveheart, where there's the elders and they're throwing documents at each other and talking about whatever, and the Braveheart character comes in and talks about them fighting over the scraps and fighting over documents. It's like, wow, So they're continuing to control us from every single perceivable angle, and you're elated that they've given you some documents that they redacted, that are their documents that they've given to you. Who gives a shit?
I didn't say that I was elated. Actually, I just said that I was just trying to make the point that there is still a movement going on to still investigate this. I mean, we're talking 16 years now. So
Nathan, beef with flat Earth just seems totally unfounded if it's to say that you've halted.
Of course it does to you, because from your subjective truth, the Earth is flat, Nathan, and that's fine with me. That's fine.
Bracket up the discussion on flat Earth just to address some of these nonsenses, which is to say that we've halted the progress of fuck all progress by bringing into the equation flat Earth.
Yes.
I didn't say anything about halting progress either. I just said muddying the waters.
Yeah, Nathan,
it's totally different.
You said
what the waters of conspiracy, which are designed.
Yeah.
I'd like to make a real quick point. Like you said, we're controlled from all angles, Nathan. I totally agree. We're playing checkers, and the elite are playing chess. They know what we're gonna do before we do it. This whole flat Earth meme, the Sandy Hook, the 9/11, all this stuff, all our talking points are given to us by Tavistock. And they're designed to be these arguments that go in circles, and they go nowhere. None of these movements are going to offer any solutions, and they're never going to go anywhere.
Flat Earth is among the most brilliant idea that anybody, if a group or a think tank came out with this idea, I mean, all hats off to them, because it's so hard to prove either way to somebody that becomes dogmatic about it.
Paradigm, I completely agree with you. That doesn't mean to say that the stack of nonsense that is the evidence for heliocentricity isn't still a stack of nonsense. And it isn't to say that the obvious and observable is no longer obvious or observable.
But in my opinion, I've done so much research that heliocentric model checks out on every level, Nathan. So that's where we differ.
But
we feel like the globe is obvious and observable. So I guess
want to fall into. We've now fallen into this trap. It's four reasonable people. And I'm saying let's bracket up globe belief and flat Earth belief, and have a reasonable discussion, because I agree when you say that the topic, and that's the air quotes flat Earth, the movement, the people, the discussions, the Google Hangouts. Yeah, man, I fully agree, and it's even on a platform that's totally controlled as well. So on all those levels, I agree with you. The thing that bugs me with especially you, P. Mars, because you say some things that are completely logical, like you said about the preponderance of evidence being for the globe. You're right. There is an absolutely massive preponderance of evidence for the globe. That doesn't make it a globe, though. When you're in a court, you can present fabricated evidence, and it stays in evidence until disproven. And when disproven, it still stays in evidence to show that it's been disproved. That's how it works.
So using that logic, when did you become a flat earther, and how did you come to that?
Well, I only came to flat Earth hearing the words uttered without them being said in ridicule, because it was something that I felt was obvious and observable. So the other day when I was asked by Vegan Warrior, or I wasn't asked directly, he said, "Oh, well, everyone takes a long time to come to this truth." I was like, I didn't. I did enough travel. I've travelled all over the world, and throughout, like a lot of people's stories, they had certain things about gravity that they were presented with it, and they went, "This don't make no sense to me." They put it on the back burner just the same as I did. So when I came to the idea of flat Earth, I'll phrase it carefully because that's how you see it, I immediately took it as obvious and observable. I'd seen it anyway. It made total sense.
Can I jump in?
Yeah, go ahead. You haven't said much.
Okay. So, bottom line, the summary of everything that we think, in my opinion, is that, kind of encompasses all these other things like Sandy Hook, and shows how easily those things can just be total hoaxes, which we all know they are. All these pseudo-terrorist attacks, we know it's all lies. And so when Flat Earth is the real thing, which I think it is, it kind of makes it obvious why all those things are such complete hoaxes. Because PK22 can sit there and go on for like 5 months about the Boston Marathon, make hundreds and hundreds of videos on it, and then people can make hundreds of videos on 9/11. And in the end, the Flat Earth kind of encompasses all those things, and I don't see how you guys know that, and you kind of are in denial of that little factoid,
No, what the Flat Earth to me is a mental exercise to basically realize that sometimes you have belief in things that you really don't have much justification for. So when Dell, say, perhaps goes to a street wanderer and asks them about the globe that they live on, most people have only had a very cursory glance at the globe Earth. And most people in the flat Earth have been in it for a year and a half or so, so they know all these 1,000 miles an hour and all these different things. So basically, what it is to me is that before flat Earth, I believed in the globe, and now I think that I know it is a globe because I have justification to back that up, which, like I said prior, I didn't. So
I would like to respond to VB real quick, because I think my friend Foxgal made the same point, that flat Earth could potentially be a good thing if it made you more aware, or consciously sort of woke you up, I guess. And I mean, if it can make you figure out 9/11 was an inside job, and the politicians are lying to us and the media is lying to us, that's good. But the problem I see is a lot of people are arguing points that are really, really bad. Like, specifically the Cavendish experiment. Like, there's so many flat Earth videos on the Cavendish experiment that are cherry picking quotes and getting, like, they're just horrible examples of it. And so usually when I see a flat earther arguing or debating people, they're just really, really getting stuff wrong. And it sort of reminds me of when I watched Freedom to Fascism back in the day by Aaron Russo, who I think is a shill from Hollywood, telling people bad arguments, and then I go on YouTube and I get murdered by people, and I learned that way. And that's how I am to the point where I am today, where I question the alternative media very intensely. And any of these people who are in the public figure, I look into their backgrounds. I don't just, accept what they say. I look who these people are that are saying these things, and you find some interesting things when you do this.
Are you comparing Patricia Steere, Nathan, Eric Dubay, and Jaron, and all these people, are you comparing them to Alex Jones, saying that they're at the same level of these people as him?
No, but I saw a video last night where Eric Dubay's dad called into Alex Jones's show, and he showed some pictures where he was wearing, I think, a Masonic ring, and some evidence that Eric Dubay and them were in some sort of secret society. The image was sort of blurry. I'm assuming that's what they were going with, though. So, I mean, I haven't looked too much into that, but I wouldn't be surprised if he... do you know about that, Tim? Does Eric Dubay got, like, some sort of secret society connections?
Yeah, I just re-uploaded Flat Earth and Other PSYOP Potatoes. I believe that information is contained within.
Okay.
So you're equating someone like Mark Sargent or Patricia Steere or Jaron as if they're on the level of Alex Jones? I mean, really?
No, I think some of them have aspirations to be such. And then I think there are people like, say, Leakey, where his ignorance gets the best of him, and he actually believes it. And then there are people that are truly trying to make money off this meme. Mm-hmm. And I believe when you incorporate like 10 to 12 ways to get paid on your website, when you're putting out something that's most likely objectively false, I find it as intellectually dishonest. He's made a business out of it. So
we're comparing Martin Leakey, while I've got a feed back to the ISS again. So, for all you guys who say you live on a globe, man, this should be real as it comes, But, we've got this ridiculous curve. We just had the cupola up earlier, and this complete nonsense with threads that go through to the outside vacuum of space. You're saying, okay, maybe they are, and you can't prove it either way. And frankly, I agree with you. I think it's a bit of a nonsense. But it's nice when you've got the opposite arguments. People like Martin Leakey who's being here to be, for cash, or people having aspirations of being like Alex Jones. How can that even compare to $50 million a day? It's just ludicrous.
This is also with your presuppositions again are attached to your argument, and you're thinking that everything's fake. And I don't think that way. I don't think that you have justification to believe that way. You would actually have to prove it is all fake, everything, the moon landing, all that stuff. And really what it is you've just kind of watched, a funny thing happens on the way to the moon, and you just ate it up, dude. You just ate it up. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm sure you would use the argument, oh, they're looking at a porthole and trying to make it look like a sphere, and all these different things that are just not true. They were hoaxed. You were hoaxed.
I've just had footage of the cupola up, showing what looks like almost a completely spherical Earth from the window of the cupola. They tell us that's real. I mean, okay, I'll take a different standpoint. So are you now saying that this footage that I'm playing from the inside of the cupola, with it showing pretty much an entire sphere Earth out the window, are you saying that is real? Is that what you're telling me?
I don't have any evidence to declare that it's fake, Nathan, nor do you.
But it's
That's
showing,
my point.
But it's showing a ball Earth through the window.
I don't see it, dude. I've watched this video. Can you get to the part where it shows it? Because I'll tell you.
Desktop, man, it just goes, I don't know, it's not actually a video. This is my desktop, so I could bring like
Oh, nice.
It is, it's cool, I love it. I've wanted this for ages, so I've put this on the video, like what I wanted, this is another thing that you put on the back burner. So about 10 years ago, or 3 PCs ago, what I wanted was weather patterns. I wanted to see weather patterns from space. How fucking dumb was I? I thought, of course they'll have, I'll be able to see the weather over Britain from space. That'll be something I can just put up on a desktop. Here we are 10, it might even be 15 years later, and the best they can give you is a revolving feed of the inside of the ISS. Where's my ball?
There's also Himawari, and there's, 2 more satellites now?
Dude, the Himawari is a good laugh. Yeah, that's what... Okay, so you are saying this stuff's real. Okay, fair enough.
No, I'm just not under the presuppositions as you are to say that they're fake.
Okay, right. That's pretty much saying that you think they're real.
Because really, to even bring in NASA or deep space, universe, dark matter, all these red herrings into this argument about the objective truth of the shape of the Earth is that. It's just a red herring.
Martin's not presenting any photographs. He's talking about people perpetrating deception, and I'm showing you what is I consider to be a massive perpetration, and you're saying, oh, well, this is a red herring. It's like, hold on. Martin Nietzsche, and he's wanting to earn cash off it. That's a major point. Mark Sargent, well, he's got aspirations of being Alex Jones. But this is a red herring.
No, I said some have aspirations as Alex Jones, and I believe that would be Jaron. I was kind of referring to, not Mark.
Okay, man. If that's your position, then fine, I find it laughable, but fine.
Well, I understand we're all biased, Nathan, and I think you can understand your bias at this point, right?
I get it. I was willing
These people are your friends. Of course, you're not going to just take a person like Tim Osmond bad-mouthing him and you'd be like, oh, yeah, you're right, Tim. I mean, really?
I think...
Are we gonna address the root of this entire argument? Are we gonna address the elephant in the room?
What, the shape of the Earth?
Yeah, and everything that you guys are arguing about right now, aside from this whole gibberish about personalities and stuff. Okay, the fact of the matter is this, Tim, you've never touched... Fact of the matter is this, Tim, nobody here has ever touched the sky or where the sky goes into space. You've never touched the moon or the sun. You've never done anything to affect the moon or the sun, okay? You don't know what the sky even is, okay?
Do you need to know the composition of the things in the sky to understand you can't make observations unless you know exactly what they are?
No, dude, we can measure
you don't know what
we can measure.
Hold on, let him bury himself.
Yeah.
Hold on, let him bury himself. Go ahead.
You don't know what those things are.
Okay, so like I said, so you need to know the composition to understand the movements they're making? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, because if I
have 3 balls in my hand and I'm moving them in a circular fashion, you can't then assume that I'm moving the balls in a circular fashion unless you know the composition of them. Well, why would the composition matter if it's hydrogen? If it's whatever, it doesn't matter.
If I wanted to find out the composition and you're in the room with me, I can touch those things and I can see for myself. The moon, the sun, the sky, you can't touch them. You can't prove what they are for yourself.
It doesn't matter. I'm talking about the observations there.
Okay, if I can't touch them, then to be fair, I would have to assume there's a possibility that it could be a hologram or a projection.
Yeah, well, you live in fairy tale land, so of course it's possible.
No, so prove to me that the sky isn't prove that the moon isn't a spaceship.
Listen,
prove that the sun isn't made of cheese.
Listen, the only way to prove these
you don't know what they are.
The only way to prove these things is basically a self-proving for yourself, and that would literally be for most flat earthers to be shot up on a rocket. Right?
You've never done it.
Nothing I can provide will determine your confirmation bias for you. You determine it for yourself.
So the moon's a spaceship. Those are aliens, and there's a spaceship, and they program it, and they give you the illusion that you're living on a sphere with their motion.
Yeah, well, if you want to live in that world, that's fine, bro.
Prove it wrong, though. So that's the whole thing, is that everything you guys assume, any argument that supports the globe that involves the sky is a red herring. End of story. Because you've never been there, you can't touch those things, so it's red herrings.
Yeah,
they
but
tell us.
Just because
you're
you say
making,
it's so, it
ad-
doesn't make it so.
That's reality, bro. That's
No,
that's
no,
No, it
logic.
doesn't.
that's ad
No.
hoc.
Yes. No.
it's just-
Any argument that involves the sky that supports a globe is a red herring because you don't know what those things are.
But if it's
You don't know
supported
what
the
those
flat
things
Earth,
are.
then it wouldn't be, right?
No, the Earth being flat and you walking it yourself, shooting camera shots across bays miles and miles away and capturing things you're not supposed to because of curb. Sorry, that the Earth is flat. Whatever you're left
There's
with.
never been a video where literally there was no curve or you shouldn't have. Everybody doesn't take into the observation height at all into their equations.
Why is there supposedly curve at sea level footage but no curve at high level footage?
Okay, guys, let me try to get this as easy as I can try to explain it to you guys. Okay, so if you could get up high enough to see 61 miles in front of you, you would see 1 degree of declination of the Earth's curvature. Okay, so then if you're on the ground and you're seeing something being obstructed by the Earth's curvature, that doesn't mean that you're seeing the actual Earth's curvature as if you're up really high seeing the Earth's curvature. Obstruction and the Earth's curvature are 2 different things. Okay?
That's
Very simple.
Pretty cool double speak.
Where's the footage of
It's not
Earth?
doublespeak.
Where's the footage of something rising in the air and capturing the Earth curving down away as they get higher and higher? Where's that footage, Tim?
Well, I guess that would be pretty much all rocket footage if you watch that from the rocket, but that's all fake.
Fisheye.
All the weather balloon. Oh, fisheye. Like I said, the fisheye doesn't work that way, but we can go with that. That's fine.
Screen share me. This is the cube of the footage I was talking about. So this they tell us this is Earth below. This is what we get. And any minute now we'll see Earth's beautiful, beautiful curvature. This is supposed to be first person view. This is someone with a camera. Whoa, whoa! That's some curve right there. That's from
Yeah.
inside the.
They're 250 miles up, dude. Do you know that?
There's nothing. You're telling me
I've never seen it. I've never seen an image of the Earth, a real image of the Earth. Sorry.
Because you think they're all fake.
You don't
Well,
need
because
to.
it's all bending. You can see it all bending.
They knew the Earth was flat in the
See
18th
the solar
century,
panels bending. You can tell that it's
even
using
before
fisheye
that.
because
Hold
it's
on.
bending.
So is it that they're using a fisheye, a wide angle lens? That it's a conspiracy or what?
Oh, so it's not the curve anymore.
No, you just said that it was a fisheye, and it's just like some kind of conspiracy. So I was just trying to clarify that.
Well, this is people's proof. You're on that side of the fence.
No, I've never used that as proof, and I wouldn't even call it proof. I would call it evidence.
There we go.
Okay,
That's
there's a
what I'm getting-
difference.
That's what I'm getting to. So you
Yeah.
wouldn't use
So-
it as proof, but
No.
every other person on the planet would use it as proof, wouldn't they?
Of course they would. I don't care. That's argumentum ad populum. I don't care.
So that's just not for you. That's just not a good argument for you.
Brilliant.
No, when we're talking about the shape of the Earth to flat earthers, I don't use NASA because that's an idiot argument. Just like Jim Panda going into Dell and saying, "Oh, because of NASA." Like, dude, he did that to get a rise. But I'm just saying, you don't talk like that when you talk to a flat earther. I've been debating this for a long time, right? It's been almost a year and a half. I was
Why
in
not?
debates and all kinds of stuff. So the
They're
thing
the
is go ahead.
ones that can prove it. Why not use them when they are the benchmark proof for Earth being a ball? You're like, oh, I don't use that. What are you
I don't
talking-
use that because I know flat Earth arguments. They say that it's all fake. They say that it's water's liquid or N2 or all these different things. So I don't use that as an argument for the objective truth of the shape of the Earth. It's just unnecessary in this juncture.
Then what are you left with?
Use the stars. You're still using the sky, the bit that they've
Absolutely.
polluted.
Yeah, stars are a dead giveaway. Absolutely.
They've polluted that. They've robbed all your credibility, I'm afraid. They've robbed that.
Well,
from you.
well, the thing is if we're going against, maybe let's just say we're trying to disprove the heliocentric model, and everything lines up with the empirical evidence that they're saying, then that would mean if the Earth is flat, then that would mean literally the sky is playing tricks on us to make us think that we're on a sphere. I mean,
Prove
quite
it's
literally.
not. Prove it's not, though. You don't know. You can't touch them. You've never been there.
Like I said, I would have evidence, but I wouldn't have proof to you because I think that maybe if we took plane flights, if I could take you all across the world and you try to plot that on a flat Earth map and try to understand that when you look south anywhere on the globe, that's where the South Celestial Pole is. where you look north on the globe, that's where the north celestial pole is, unless, of course, you're at the poles themselves, which would be over your zenith at that point. But guys, this all matches up. So my whole point is, if we want to disprove gravity, if we want to disprove the heliocentric model, we actually need to attack it in a proper way and not just make a bunch of arguments from incredulity.
Fair enough. So, I mean, your standard is the celestial poles from the North and South Pole. Mine would be the obvious and observable nature of what we see every day. But
Yeah.
have you been to the North or South Pole to see that and observe
Well,
it?
let's go with what you said first, real quick. What you observe every day. Now, most flat earthers do believe that the sun is a close and local star. And if that was the case, from sun up to sundown, we would expect quite a bit different in angular size, angular change throughout the day. So it travels all throughout our sky through the day and doesn't change angular size basically at all. The moon changes very little through apogee and perigee, aphelion and perihelion, just like the sun. I'm just saying.
I could agree or disagree, but if I say to you straight away, I have no idea what it is, and I'm not trying to perpetrate any deception in regards to the sun. You know, I've had a look at it. I've even tried to track it. You know, I've come to the conclusion that tracking it is futile, but that's not trying to perpetrate any kind of deception like the one that's on screen now. That's not like that. But you're trying to box in Mark Sargent, me, Patricia, Jaron, with the people who are perpetrating deceptions like the
Well,
one.
you're trying to box me into your false dilemma again, because I don't believe that to be fake,
Yeah.
and you do.
Not you, though, and don't take it personally. That's how it is. That's not anything against you.
But Nathan, do you ever think that this right here, this footage, do you ever do this? Because I do this every day to myself, and this is how a true skeptic actually thinks. Do you ever actually doubt yourself? Maybe this is real. Maybe the Earth is a sphere. Maybe it is not flat. This is very important for you to do, because you will be stuck in your own echo chamber and your own paradigm, the flat Earth meme paradigm, until you figure out that it is a sphere.
Well, you can't use anything from any evidence about the sky to prove that it could be a sphere.
Not
so what
to
are you
you.
left with?
Okay, not to you. Well, I could go with, how about the Chicago skyline? How about the Toronto skyline? How about seeing a mountain from 160 miles away if you're high enough up, and seeing that it's being obstructed? How about all these things that do purport to the heliocentric, or rather the globe Earth model, as opposed to the flat?
You think those subtle things tell you?
I'm saying there's a preponderance of evidence that
I can link to an experiment they did in the 18th century that proved the curve that a flat earther could do, probably, because I don't think it's
well, you don't ever see them taking any geodetic surveying equipment out, do they? Well, because people like Dell are going to say that water's flat, even though we know that water droplets and waves and tides and all that shit is not flat. So
Sure, but
if you want to prove this thing, you would get, dude. I mean, Jamie Heath, you interviewed him, one of your first things, if not your first. He said that it costs $40 a week to rent in UK professional geodetic surveying equipment. How many flat earthers have done this? They're looking for this curve. Where's the curve? Where's the curve? Well, go get some equipment so that you can detect declination.
Right, so plane surveyors, just ignore that detail.
Navigators.
Plane surveyors? What did you say? Plane surveyors? You mean planar surveyors? The ones that only do, yeah. So the assumption is that it's flat, yeah, because it basically is. It's flat compared to the radius of the Earth. Not flat because it's a flat Earth.
More doublespeak.
No, it's not at all. And people using things like railways and things like this. I mean, I actually looked into it. My father actually works for one of the bigger companies, railroads. So I went and talked to people that actually know. And they told me, things like curvature are so minimal that they have to account for things like heating and contracting and all these different things just from the weather alone. So, I mean, most of these arguments are just literally arguments from incredulity. And I personally, Nathan, wouldn't like to go around and have shows where hundreds of people listen to me say things that basically is my ignorance, because in the end, you're the fool.
Okay, that's a fair enough point of view. But on this show, I'm trying to get to the point where I establish the reasons why you're so concerned about it. So, from what I can gather, you're saying it is a globe, even though you don't take this particular evidence as supporting it, even though it's costing a lot of money to provide it to people, which is fine. But you are saying that the people who are looking like idiots and distracting from the snail-like progress of 9/11 truth, those people need addressing. So what about people who are into ghosts? I mean, I think they look pretty stupid. I mean, are you on their case? What's the deal with flat earthers? If they're just looking stupid and everyone ridicules them anyway, who cares? I mean, literally, who cares? What's in it for you?
Well, I guess one of the examples that I use is that they did muddy the waters with legitimate conspiracies. So bringing in ghosts really doesn't fit at all. So it's just a false equivalency.
So
but
no. So Tim, in a perfect world, all conspiracy theorists would be at your level, right?
No, because I don't. I mean, I'd be foolish to know that, or to say that I know things. I mean, it's
Okay, because you
not
hang
so bad.
around, because you hang around flat Earth, you linger on flat Earth. That's where the smartest people are at. You're one of them. So what are you really saying here, bro?
I would say that there's more evidence
ahead,
of
Pete.
ghosts than flat Earth. Go ahead, Tim.
What was the question, BB? Sorry, I'm high.
I mean, what are you saying about yourself? I mean, obviously this is important to you, so maybe you're fighting your battles on the correct front. You know, because it is legitimate. It is something to argue because you know we're right deep down inside.
No, I wouldn't go as far. I mean, you just ruined your whole question right there to say that. I literally, guys, I'll come back in about 6 months and I'll be like, hey, I'll talk to some people and see if I can find any evidence that would lead me to believe that the Earth is flat. But thus far, doing all of the research and all of the debates that I've done, I truly do believe that I can justify that we live on a sphere. And
But using
without ad hocs, without saying, oh, you can't use anything in the sky to tell you where you are, without any of that kind of stuff. So. Just none of it works, guys. None of the. I mean, that's why you tried to have a flat Earth model, and then obviously it's just ridiculous to even try to do such a thing. Because I did it myself. So it's impossible.
I'm gonna mispronounce this. Verrazano Narrows Bridge connecting Staten Island and Brooklyn had to be designed with the Earth's roundness in mind. Like, that's not NASA. That's people making a bridge, taking the curvature into account.
It's super nominal, dude. It's ridiculously nominal. I mean, even planar surveyors and surveyors, they take out their variable c, which is curvature, because they declare it to be so nominal, like literally.
It is nominal.
But we are on a globe, even though that's the case.
But you can measure the curve, and flat earthers say there's no curve.
Look. The thing is, Nathan, is scale. It's just scale, dude. I mean, if we're going to say, and we have pretty good evidence to think that we are on a 25,000 mile circumference Earth, no matter if it's flat or a ball or whatever.
Still waiting for the image. Still waiting for the picture, bro.
No. Look. This isn't a show to come on and try to prove to you anything, because I personally will not spoon feed anybody information that they should be getting themselves if that's what they're seeking. Because I know all the answers and I know all the arguments from flat earthers, and like I said, thus far I'm just not convinced, guys. It's just not convincing.
You said it. You said it was about scale. You said it was about scale, but then you also admit the fact that you've never seen an image of the Earth.
No, I never said that. You said that there's no image of the Earth.
Well, this is what we've.
Well, where are you seeing one? Where have you seen one?
NASA.
We don't
This is
even
what
see
NASA-
supposedly, there's quite a few pictures actually of the Earth.
Jim Panda would
Apollo.
answer that.
Yeah, I've heard Ben Panda's presentation. He admits it's CGI as much as the rest of them. He justifies it with the type of cameras and saying that the way they composite the images is just the way my camera would composite the images. So I've heard his arguments on it. But
yeah, it's like flat earthers think that they're taking like a Nikon P900 or whatever up there with the 80 times optical zoom or whatever, and just taking a picture of the Earth. Like that's just not how it works. They are most of them are composites, not all of them, but most of them are composites. And if you guys have a better way of doing that, I mean, most of the reason is the satellites aren't far enough to see the whole Earth, and that's just the dimensions of the Earth. If they're only 100 miles up or 200 miles up, You're not going to see the whole Earth, so they do have to take ribbons of imagery.
I
They
can
do
just
have to put it together.
start sinking as we get into these arguments. Can you? I'm sure, validation boy, you feel exactly the same. Am I wrong? My heart's sinking. You know what I mean?
What was that?
I just feel my heart sinking as we get into these arguments. You know.
Well, I understand, dude, and I understand like the confirmation bias and the emotional confirmation bias therein that you do exhibit, and it's unfortunate because you should be able to talk to somebody like me that has done a bunch of research onto it and isn't an idiot that just says, "Oh, flat Earth is stupid." You know, what about a boat going over the edge of the Earth? You know, like I can actually come and tell you, on most of your arguments what the actual explanation is, and if you want to believe that or deny that, that's up to you. That's totally up to you.
We're talking subtleties. I mean, yeah, we can go into these details at great extraordinary length, and we can prove each other wrong and right all day long. However, what I'm trying to get to, I've asked P. Mars, and he told me about, the deception of flat Earth. He couldn't possibly be right because of the Freemasonic deception from whatever, 100, 150 years ago. You've said that if you go to the North and South Pole, you'll see a certain twinkly light to do certain things, and these are your reasons. You live on a giant spinning ball living through space. Now, for me, that's a bit of a stretch. To hear those things repeated back to you, can you not hear what I'm saying? To say that if I was to go to the North Pole and look up and take time-lapse photography of these lights, that would be absolute confirmation that I live on a ball, and I can prove it with these others.
Well, you took part of what I said and kind of almost understood it. But what I'm saying is, anywhere on the Earth, you will see circumpolar stars, as well as the celestial pole if you're at certain latitudes.
Yeah,
If you
don't know the
study
composition.
latitudes, dude, you can't use the composition argument because what we're doing is we're not in an argument about the composition. Like he's saying it's hydrogen and I'm saying it's a giant ball of fucking
That's the
farts or
root.
whatever.
That's the root of argument.
What the argument is the observations of the movements. It doesn't matter the composition.
Of intangible objects. Of intangible objects.
No, they're not intangible. How are they intangible?
Because you don't know what they are. You don't know who's putting them there, who's doing what, what's making that do that.
It's not real because I don't know what it is? Is that what you're saying?
No, it's real. We can see it, but that's what I'm saying. This is a nitpicky detail that you two are now battling over. What I'm trying to get to is the point that, okay, I'm saying I'm open to the idea, completely open now to the idea of being on a spinning ball. And what you're presenting me with is look at the lights in the sky, watch them do their thing. That will lead you to the conclusion that you're on a spinning ball flying through space. Now,
well, look. As disjointed as this conversation has become, this isn't like all of our arguments. If you want us to go on with other evidences that lead us to the sphere, that's fine.
Are you guys cool?
But hold on. I would like to make a point. This is a very common tactic of flat Earth to basically put all of the onus on the globe believer, in quotations, to completely prove the globe to them, when really I rarely ever see any flat earther come on and prove the flat Earth to any glober.
Okay.
It just doesn't happen.
Is it cool if I add Isa and Gem Panda with you guys?
Because it's the obvious and observable fact that we live with every day. You've said the plane surveyors, they take out C because it's nominal. Right, so what you're saying is, basically to them it's flat. So what you're saying is the standard that everybody is adhering to is that it's flat. That's how we see it. So from that point, if you're to say, okay, well, the standpoint of everybody is that it's flat, where do we go from here? Well, the end point is spinning ball flying through space. So that's C. Right, we're at A. Everything looks flat. So B, so far, I've heard Freemasonic lies from ages ago. That means that because it was laughed at, I can't possibly take the obvious and observable. Okay, thanks for that, P. Mars. Now we're on to lights in the sky spinning round. Well, I'm trying to get to the point with what you tell me now in this conversation to get from on a flat plane to flying through space. I'm finding it hard. Sorry, give me some examples.
Well, first of all, what we're doing here is an objective question. It is about the shape of the Earth, not really its geocentricity or heliocentricity. So, we can just go with sphere versus flat, right? Can we just go with that?
Sure, man. Convince me I'm on a sphere.
Okay, okay.
With
Because
any
geocentric is, it's pretty much the same thing. It's very close.
Hey, I'm willing to make a major concession to, I guess, the assumed opposition here. Okay, to just a small anecdotal thing. At worst or at best, whichever way you want to look at this, I'm willing to concede that relative to wherever I am, you and I both agree. You, Tim, and I both agree that what we see, what we experience relative to us, is flat.
Yes, it is.
At my lowest, that's the lowest I'm willing to go to
Well, it
meet with
is
you, to compromise
because
with you.
hey, look, this is my whole point here, is that if we went on primary knowledge for everything, and this is basically what we're doing here, um, then things like Wi-Fi and things like radio communications and such are never going to be explained, because yeah, you can see a causal reaction, but you can't actually see what's doing it. So, do you understand where I'm coming from?
Okay.
Can you
Maybe
add
not.
Jim Panda, Tim? I
Yeah,
can't
Landon.
find him.
Oh, that
I
little
think he
fucker.
blocked me or some shit. Isa is here. What's up, Isa? Keeping it. I gotta keep it balanced, fair and balanced.
Yeah, no, I
So
just wanted to
Nathan, I would
mention
I would
that,
like to ask. I asked Jaron probably about 8 months ago live on a show, and I have that on my channel. I think you probably heard. Does the star rotations, does that work on a globe Earth, basically, and not work on a flat Earth? And basically, he as pussyfooted as he could, he pretty much said, yeah, it does work. So the thing is if they're these stars that are in our sky, if you could plot those on a computer program, literally, and put a ball and spin it and saw the same thing, what I mean, if you were to say just model the heliocentric model and it was empirically valid, would that give any credence to the shape of the Earth to you?
all I heard was if you put it into a computer model, now we're kind of switched off. I'm too busy flying, man. I'm in the cupola.
That was a pretty epic troll, though, going to the Space Center wearing flat Earth gear, so I gotta give you kudos.
I wasn't wearing anything saying flat Earth on me.
So Nathan, I mean, if you ever do come into the knowledge or the understanding that the Earth is a sphere, what will you do? Will you continue to do your shows? Will you run off and hide? What will you do? Will you come out and tell people and get Tiger Danned, or I mean, what are you gonna do, man?
Your question is, what would I do if I found out it was a sphere?
Yeah, and you've for almost 2 years now been pushing all this, and I mean, would you feel kind of like regret or shame or sorrow in any way?
I don't regret. Definitely not. I don't regret things. That's just not my personality. I make mistakes and do bad things and do wrong things, but ownership of your mistakes. That's what I said right at the beginning of this live stream. Validation Boy essentially took ownership of his mistakes, and I gave him big kudos for that. I mean, big kudos live on it, because it took a lot of courage to own your. It takes a lot of courage to own your mistakes. So to answer your question, if I actually went up, if I was literally on a spaceship and could look down and saw it was a ball, I'd just publish a video documenting that fact that I'd seen with my own eyes.
So you bring up a good point though, real quick. So
But
I mean, really, so your standards of evidence or standards of proof are that you literally need to be shot up in a rocket or something of the sort.
when the links, it's called links here, you I think have ACS out in the States, but here we have links, and links did an Apollo program, and full on I was signed up to it. I wanted to go up.
So Nathan, are you still here?
Hmm.
Oh, okay. Uh, say I understand Brian Cox is kind of frowned upon, but he did take a jet flight and basically saw the sun set and then sped up, past the 1,000+ miles or whatever the fuck it was, and saw the sun rise again and then set again. Would that be evidence that we are on a sphere without, using any ad hoc explanations for why the sun sets on our Earth every single day? and rises as well.
I don't know. You've seen it on TV, right?
Yeah, I think I saw it on YouTube. Yeah. I'm just saying, if you were in that position, wouldn't that be a good evidence for you that, flat Earth is bunk as fuck?
If I could go up and see curvature, yeah, man. Like I say, I wanted to go up on the Lynx Apollo program. If they could have shot me into space back then, I was not a flat earther at the time. I'd have gone, of course. And I'd look down. If I looked down with my Kodak camera, I'd have gone, click. And I'd come back. This happened tomorrow. They sent me up a rocket tomorrow, and I came down with my picture of a curve. I'd publish it and go, I was wrong. Would I feel guilty or remorseful? No, I'd just document my experience. Every mistake I've made is still there. I don't take my videos down.
Yeah.
Leave them there. You know, if I've made a mistake, I just correct it. You know, like early on, I made a baby on a plane video and very quickly realised how stupid I looked. So very next video, I was like, here's where I've made loads of mistakes. It works on both. You know, I'm wrong. Because at the time, I was all keen, thought, wow, I've got this map. Now I realise there are no maps. None of us have got the answers. So, you know, we're held to the account, flat earthers, the people that you're trying to expose, we're held to this standard of proof that's totally unreasonable. You know?
Well, Nathan, I think that we've just actually cleared up that your standard of proof is basically something that I can't personally provide for you. I'm not that rich, bro. You know, so I can't send you up. So
Yeah,
this is a good kind of thing to lay out for people that do want to debate this topic. If your standards of evidence or standards of proof is this high, the highest bar that you could set, millions of dollars to go and do some venture, then, you know, like, I can't prove anything to you. So it's a null argument.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, I remember when I was probably about 17, I'd just got my driving license, right? And I was driving back listening to Radio 1, and they had John Peel, and he plays tapes that he gets sent, endless tapes, right? He's dead now, but anyway. And he played this tape from a band, and it's just a guy talking over some music, and he's talking about people who win lottery money, and he's talking about a guy who's saying that he's gone to the pyramids, and another guy who's gone, you know, the general seven wonders and all these things. Another guy buys a big house and a Ferrari, and that's what he spends it on. And the guy looks to his mate and says, look, if I won the lottery, what I'd spend the money on is I'd go to space. Because then for every guy who comes up to you afterwards and says, I've seen, I don't know, I've rode on the back of a blue whale, you know, you can say, oh, well, that's feasible for next man to do. I've been to space. I've seen what we look like from there. And that would absolutely be my aspiration, you know, to see it, to actually see it. And as far as, I've said this like 5 times on this show, but as far as I can see, and we've all established this, it seems we've got a lot of intellectual honesty, at least to a certain degree, that it is observably flat. So beyond that, what can you do? You know, what can you do? You're not going to send me up to space. And this is the crap they present us with. That's my point. That's the crap that we have to, you know, take as proof. You don't have to take it. I'm not saying you use it as evidence, but they certainly do, and they're pumping a lot of money into it.
Yeah. Jeremy, do you have anything to say? You kind of just popped on.
Oh, hey, Jeremy. Long time
Hello.
no see.
I mean, I don't think they do really use it as evidence. I think this link between NASA and the idea, I know that is a freaky shot. I think that's probably the most obscure shot I've ever seen in a live hangout. But yeah, I just don't really see this link between NASA and the globe Earth that I see you guys sort of trying to characterize it. You know, people believed it was a globe long before NASA came along. And
So what's the point of NASA?
and I, you know, for me, I totally buy into pictures from space, and I know about how they're produced. They aren't all composites. Some are whole photographs. But I don't think that that's the proof for most people. I think it's kind of an easy, accessible one that people, you know, I've seen certainly more than once referred to in these street interview things. You know, they hop to it, and I know I've used it, but I generally use it because I know it winds you guys up.
Okay, well, this is wicked. You can give me a better answer, I'm sure. So, right, you know my standpoint. I'm on a flat plane right now, and
Right.
the end point, the C, is being on a spinning ball flying through space. So, from where I sit, give me something juicy. Convince me I'm on a ball.
Well, I
Can
mean,
you screen share my Ketalogic account, P-Mars?
I think, you know, I think the problem with that sort of question is, and don't get me wrong, I often ask those sort of questions myself, but I think what it attempts to do is get me to pick one thing, and then you know, you can pull apart that one thing, and that isn't really why we believe things. I think, you know, the belief is built from you know, a body of evidence. It's a number of things that come together that comply with each other, and I think you can't really take one, and I mean you can for, you know, for an interesting conversation, but I don't think it really leads to it's what leads to the belief. Even if I can,
All night,
you know,
man.
even if I can pick my best one. My best one would be the two celestial poles.
Give me as long a list as you like. What I'm saying is, I don't mind if being on a ball is point Z. Just tell me, you know, get me from A to Z and get me on a ball.
Okay, well, I would start with two celestial poles, and
hold
the
on,
reason
hold on, Jem, real quick. Share my Ketalogic account, not my page. I'm on 2 accounts right now.
What do you mean?
In the Hangout, P.
Oh.
In the Hangout, I'm screen sharing. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm trying to just show that basically the dog cam videos, that even this one was used by Flat Earth.
This one here
is not. It's not flat.
Oh,
no, share
in
the Hangouts. Yeah. It's my main account. Go ahead, Jim. Sorry, man.
Yeah. So yeah, I would start with two celestial poles because I just can't see a way that you can explain that with any other geometric shape.
Cylinder, but it's just it was.
Wait, what do you want me to share?
Share in the actual Hangout where all of us little names are and shit. Share my screen.
Oh,
because I'm on my Mac. I'm sharing right now.
I'm sorry, my bad.
No, you're good, man. There we go. So does this look flat to anybody?
I don't know. I guess it's flattish.
Oh shit.
Well, is it flat though?
I don't know.
Well, it's not empirical. It's not empirical.
How about does the horizon rise to the eye level of the camera? How about that?
Can't empirically say for sure.
Well, this is used as evidence for a flat Earth. I'm actually bringing up evidence because you guys aren't really bringing much to the table. But there is definitely a curve in this photography here. So, you know, what's the explanation for that? I'll take it into Photoshop too, if you want.
Yeah, man, I'm on a ball. You've got me there.
Well, if we're going to say that there's no curvature, you know, and that leads us to believe that it's flat, well, I'm bringing up something that doesn't have a fisheye lens, and it doesn't seem to be flat.
At best, this dog cam image only shows a segment of what you allege to be a sphere.
Yeah, but I mean, does that give it credence that it's flat, though, when there is curvature? Because in my opinion, it gives credence to the ball model, because that's what you would expect to see, but not with the flat.
360, you have it at the same point. It wouldn't be any different. So if that curve that you're suggesting is on this current widescreen picture from left to right, it would mean that would have to continue around you, and it would be further on the one side of the camera as it spun round on the...
The Earth is fucking huge, dude, and this is only, what, 120,000 feet up, probably?
Okay, so Tim...
You can't have it both ways. You know?
So Tim and Nathan, you guys have already agreed that the level of proof someone like Nathan or myself would need is shooting up in a rocket, seeing it with our own eyes, empirically. This dog cam footage is not empirical. So it doesn't really prove anything either way. It's just a
that was actually
segment.
the point of me making that whole point, is because, like I said, there's nothing that I can provide that will prove it to you. You need to take the evidences and weigh them out yourself, as I did, and not have any confirmation bias, not have any emotional attachment to the idea or the community, but actually look at it objectively. And I think if you did that, and you didn't call yourself a dogmatist in the process, I think you found out that it's a sphere.
We're so far we've got two polls. That's what.
Go ahead with the polls.
Next one. What's next? I mean, I'm not going to try even pick it apart. This great. I'll add this to part B. So this apparently is curvature, and great, wonderful.
Let me just. I mean, this is empirical, because empirical just means observed or through experience.
But it's just a segment. All you're seeing is a segment.
But it's a recording of an observation. It is empirical. It isn't theorized. It isn't something that has been arrived at by maths. It's something that we are seeing and observing. So I would argue that it is very much empirical.
Yeah, it's third hand. You're watching what the camera watched.
So again, this is just, any evidence that is brought to the table is denied that has anything to do, that goes against the confirmation bias.
I'm not denying it. I'm saying
all it is.
We're off air.
Guys, Nathan and Validation Boy, can you guys bring up any evidence for the flat Earth that you proclaim?
I mean, are you gonna let me defend my whole stance real quick? I mean, or what's the deal? We've already agreed that going up there ourselves is off the table. Nobody in this hangout right now is ever going to go into space or up there high enough to see that the Earth is a sphere with our own eyes. None of us are ever going to do that, and we all agree that.
Well, we don't know that we're never going to do
Okay. So I assume that we all kind of agree that, And secondly...
we can agree that none of us have done that so far.
Okay, fine.
None of us are ever going to do that.
Okay. And then furthermore, the fact that we've never touched the sky, we've never touched the moon, the stars, or the sun, we don't know what they are, that they prove nothing. They could very well be a projection, for all you know, deceiving you with directional angles. For all you know, they could be spaceships, they could be made out of cheese. They could be because you don't know what they are.
Left and right.
That isn't
okay, and combined with the fact that earlier I conceded the fact that where I am at, relative to me, on the ground, I'm living on a flat plane, and the fact that I'm not ever doing anything high enough in the air or quote-unquote global enough to ever exist in these realms where I would be experiencing any kind of globe or curvature. So to me, the Earth is a flat plane that I exist on, and that's what I'm dogmatic about, and there's no inherent fallacy in dogma.
I think,
but you're bringing an argument in saying that there are no inherent fallacies in dogma to somewhere that nobody has said that about you. Like, if Jed was on the panel, I would understand that you would bring this up 3 times, but I've never said that about you. But if I thought about it, I would probably find quite a bit of fallacy.
You just used dogmatist as a slander against me in your last comment.
It's not really a slander when you're the one that says, hey, I'm a dogmatist. Kind of like when I say, hey, guys, I'm a troll, and everybody calls me a troll, like Morgal, 100% proof he's a troll. Well, dude, I've been saying it for a couple of years. Wow, great research.
I mean, I think if we're being honest with ourselves, you can easily disprove the Earth is flat, and we're left to conclude that you guys are religiously motivated or motivated by greed or something. Like, we can't figure out.
It's just
why
their
you
bias,
guys
man. It's a conspiracy mind, man.
We're taking a different stance. What we're saying is, we start from, you put it in as a caveat. So you say, oh, well, they just naturally ignore it and take it as read that it's flat. And you guys are happy enough to put the caveats in first. So if we can all agree that what we observe is flatness, now that's fairly reasonable to assume from a starting point. And then we go on to the 2 poles, the curvature in the dog cam footage, and what else?
Geodetic surveying equipment.
Yeah, we can do experiments to show the curve, but then you guys don't accept it, so it's like, what are we left with?
Like I said, is there any proof or evidence that you can provide for us to convert us? I know that you guys aren't here to convert us, but I seriously and truly would love to fucking see some evidence for flat Earth, because guys, I will be the biggest proponent of flat Earth if I could find justification in it. Truthfully,
I don't like that tact. I don't believe it anymore. Now you convince me from where I stand, and from what I look out my window, it looks pretty flat from here. Water? Yeah, it looks pretty flat.
Like I said, with firsthand knowledge, Nate, it's kind of it's just like the Wi-Fi, man. It's like, how would I prove to you that there are Wi-Fi signals when you can't see them empirically?
JLB says that
Right, and
tides
I think
disprove the whole flat water
Put me-
thing. Isn't that
You're not
correct?
obviously not used to this tact, are you? So I'm saying, put me on the ball. Put me on.
But I think the problem is, though, Nathan, is with the idea of this philosophy about first-hand knowledge and personal experience, and
Yeah.
I hear this a lot in Flat Earth, and I think this is probably one of the cleverest thing about Flat Earth is that this idea has been presented as if it's reasonable, and it's not reasonable. What you know about your senses is that they are very limited and extremely unreliable. And I'm sure we can come up with examples of where your senses have fooled you. All you have to do, sorry, I'm nearly there. All you have to do is cover one eye, and all of a sudden you can't tell how far away things are. I mean, your senses, the idea that what you personally experience stands above all other forms of evidence is wrong. That's not.
Well, I've heard we literally can perceive like less than 1% of the electromagnetic spectrum. Like we see this color and we can hear sounds and stuff, but there's so much more out there that we cannot see. We cannot perceive it.
Really interesting. This doesn't really get me convinced I'm on a ball, though.
Well, look, let's get this clear real quick. Hold on. This isn't a show to convince Nathan that he's, the reality is that it's a sphere. We're actually just having a conversation. I think it's been pretty productive thus far.
I love it if you.
Listen. Hold on. Yeah, I can't, and I openly admit that I cannot prove something like this to somebody that literally says that their evidence has to be that literally they have to go up to space. How the fuck would I prove that to you?
This is the problem.
It's unreasonable.
Yeah, it's that the philosophy of it is designed. It's a clever way of remaining willfully ignorant and pretending that that's somehow superior when it really isn't.
I'm not asking for that.
What makes us human is the fact that we share things, and one of the things that we've shared throughout time is our knowledge. And you guys have stopped doing that, and you're presenting that as if it's a good idea.
I'm not presenting anything. I'm saying I want you to do it. You're so used to having the shoe on the other foot. I can't, it's about fine. But right, I'm saying take me on that journey and get me back on that ball. Take me there.
That isn't what we're here for, Nathan. We're not here to, kowtow to your demands for proof you're on a ball. I mean, that's not what it's about.
We can't spoon feed somebody that doesn't like it to begin with. I mean, when you implicitly deny the sky, such as the stars, moon, and the sun, it's just like it's worthless. It's worthless to argue.
Push that one aside very quickly. How do you explain the two celestial poles?
I don't have an explanation. I've observed the stars.
Well, that's pretty important.
Very important.
You guys, and I would like to ask.
Because it matches the heliocentric model is the point. Go ahead, Pete.
We're all laymen here, and you can easily anyone listening can study history, and these are the same arguments that have been going on since the 18th century, I believe, or the 19th century, and
esoteric astronomy and shit.
They've been laughed at and proven wrong over and over and over, which is why the general public laughs at flat Earth, because this has been brought up and laughed at over and over and over again throughout history.
Yeah, right.
And it's the same thing where they demand proof that's unreasonable.
I'm not demanding anything unreasonable. I'm saying you're telling me that number one proof so far, I've had it from two people, is that the celestial pole stars prove to you that you're on a spinning ball. Now, I just want that to
It's
make
evidence.
Intangible.
It's part of, but it's not intangible. You can look up in the sky and see it. You don't need.
I don't think he knows what intangible means.
You don't need to touch everything to know, to know things about it. I mean,
to observe the movements, nonetheless, Jeremy.
Right.
It's the movements that we're concerned with, not the.
There are birds in the sky, but you probably never touch one of them.
Yeah, it's this whole skeptical empiricism that literally will get you into a rabbit hole of just absolutely nonsense. It's absolute nonsense because of what I've already documented here. Literally, guys, we can't prove it to you, so stop asking for proof. First of all, it should be evidence, and second of all, I don't have the funds to shoot you up in a rocket. That is your standards of proof, and we've already declared that. There's no other conversation to be had here.
I think the criteria for evidence is way too high on the flat Earth side.
Why? Because there's people out there presenting it. I've got it on screen.
So is that underwater, or what is your theory on what they're doing?
See, and
there?
this
What's
is
the
why...
antithesis? What's the antithesis of what they're saying they're doing there?
I don't know, man. It looks pretty though.
Well, if you're arguing with the flat earthers, simply don't bring up NASA, and they have nothing.
That's
because
the thing.
The flat Earth is basically a new skin for the moon landing hoax that happened in the '60s. They've rolled out the same conspiracy.
That's so true.
Well, no, fair enough. So, what's your take on that then, Gem Panda? Because I used to be a NASA fanboy, and when you hear things like that they can't get there, you know, I've already had quote Tim Osman unquote say that you have defended the fact that they have contradicted themselves with the Van Allen belts and the trial by fire. And
well, I'm astounded that you say that, Nathan. You're a very eloquent chap. You understand the English language very well. And you understand, I think, and you know enough of the space program to understand what they were saying. But if you want me to give you the defense, I will very quickly. Apollo was single-use spacecraft. There are none left, and they were designed 50 years ago. Nowadays, we need new spacecraft, and with modern technology, with intricate computers, modern computers, when you send them into an area like Van Allen radiation belt, where there are energized particles charging around in space, those energized particles in your computer, you've got energized particles running around the circuit board, running around the printed circuit board. So, you know, the computer won't be able to tell one from the other, and that wasn't a problem in the '60s because you'd got much more, you know, robust transistor-based technology where, you know, these tiny little voltages didn't make any difference, but now they make a massive difference. So there are new challenges, and the other problem is that with Orion, which is what they were talking about in Trial by Fire, Orion is a spacecraft designed to go to Mars, where you've got a minimum mission length of 3 years, and Apollo went to the moon, which is a mission of, you know, 9 days. I mean, it's a totally different spacecraft that is required for, you know, a totally different job. And that's what they're saying in that. They're just saying, we can't do it now because we can't. We don't have spacecraft that are designed to go that far and travel through that part of space. Makes sense?
Is that explanation just unacceptable, or is it just pure denial?
That's what happens in a lot of their videos. They cherry pick data, or cherry pick quotes, and I get accused of that too when I'm trying to argue things that, in my opinion, are true. So I know
it's almost impossible to not be fallacious because there's a policy for everything.
So
I'm perfectly.
Gem Panda, then we can put that what we're on to now. We've got the Star Trails, we've got the bit of dog cam footage, and now we've got NASA. Am I right? So that's you're saying that NASA absolutely proves to you you're on a spinning ball.
Evidence.
Well, for me, if I was talking to anybody but a flat earther and they said to me, "How do you know you live on a globe?" I would say pictures from space.
Yep.
Okay.
I do it with you guys, but I only do it because I know it's going to wind you up.
No. I'm taking a totally different tact here. I've put the shoe on the other foot and I've said, look, you present it back to me. So you've said NASA. Okay, that's we're on.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that the end of the line?
Well, no. Like I say, it's a body of evidence, and you know, I guess we could keep going all day. You know. I
mean, I want you to tell. I mean, it sounds like we've got to NASA, and to me, they're showing you it's a ball. So that's it, basically, isn't it?
Well, I mean, I guess that's a good place to get off and have a look around. And again, what I would say is, you know, like Tim said earlier, you know, when you're arguing with flat earthers, you just don't say anything about NASA. You just don't even bother to mention it. Well, I think that is a ludicrous position. I think to just say we'll just let you guys off. All right, all of space science is being faked. I'll let you have that one. That's bollocks.
And they're sending billions of dollars.
Let me make my point. They have no direct evidence to support that idea at all. Not a shred. Not a single piece of evidence that says this is not an invoice for a booked sound stage, not a wayward cameraman that's blabbed on his deathbed. Not one piece of evidence to support that idea.
When NASA starts producing footage of things that don't look like they're done in a studio, then we can talk.
Footage, any of that crap, because all that is that's just your anomaly hunting. What I want is, you're saying this has been going on for 50 years in multiple countries throughout the world. Every piece of space science, we're not just talking about spacecraft, we're talking about observatories, we're talking about reported science that's come back from rovers, satellites, all of that is being faked. No, I do not give you that unless you present me with some direct evidence for that. And I don't mean I don't like the way these shadows look or this flag
There's a bubble
waving.
See, that's why I totally dismiss NASA, because it's just still more crap in the sky that's just proving nothing to anybody. Where I'm at on the ground relative to me and my non-global existence, it's a flat plane. So I could just I'm completely comfortable dismissing all of NASA with all of the sky and with all of space and with all of the celestial bodies.
The ball Earth heliocentric
model. Can I just say real quick? It's not a reasonable position to say, well, I live in a world, there's ground underneath me, there's sky above me, but because I'm not actually touching the sky, I'm going to pretend it doesn't exist. And I'll invent any kind of anomalous, fantastical world that doesn't even have to incorporate the sky that is in my reality every day. Because
it doesn't have to incorporate this infinite vacuum of space that magically meets our little bubble of water called the Earth that doesn't crush us into oblivion. Just give me a break,
that's
man.
That's such an argument from incredulity.
Well, here's what flat earthers do, though, is they ad hoc all these hypotheses because they can't explain things like how, for instance, the sun light hits the moon. They say the moon has its own light. Bullshit.
What is the sun? What is the moon? Well, what is the sun and what is the moon?
It doesn't matter. I'm talking about ad hoc hypotheses that flat earthers come up with since they have no real evidence.
Those sound ad hoc because you don't even know what they are.
The lunar eclipse.
You don't even know what they are.
They fit in the model. They fit in the model, and that's kind of the point.
But models are no good, right? Models are no good, like you said about the AE model, right? So, but your model is just fine and dandy, right?
Yeah, it is actually. When it comes to stars, that's how our latitude. I mean, that's how it's based, basically. Do you understand?
And what are the stars again? What are those stars, though?
We know what stars are made of and what the sun's made of.
You do? How do you know? How do you know what stars are made of? How do you know what stars are made of, bro? See, this is what I'm talking about. Your sophism.
And stop asking the same question over and over again. We know through spectroscopy. We can look through a spectroscope and we can see what elements a star is made of.
And then just say what you think they're made of. Write it down on paper, and then that's what they are.
We can do a test in a lab, and we get the same. We can see what color spectrums we get off when we, burn some copper in a Bunsen burner. And
what medium? What medium?
No. What medium are you observing these stars through? What's that? You don't even know what that is. See, it's just ridiculous, man. You guys are ridiculous with your sky.
Instead of you deciding I don't know the answer to the question that you've asked me, why not let me answer it? We're talking about the electromagnetic spectrum. It's the same as I'm sure you've seen night vision goggles before. You don't think that they're some, subject of fakery or something like that. You're just observing another part of the electromagnetic spectrum, a part of it which is normally invisible to you. And that's the same as what we do with spectroscopy and stars. And that's how we're able to
hold on. The star's composition is such a red herring to begin with, because look, if you guys are pitching to do science in the first place, like I said before, you need to actually falsify what is there, what is put in place already. You can't just say, oh, that doesn't sound right to me, so I'm just not going to believe it. Well, you can, but you're just a denier at that point. Because if, like I said, dude, if you're going to do science, then go prove that it's not spectroscopy that it's used. I mean, we use that for other things as well here on Earth.
Right.
The argument for that, I'll come back to you, but I want to address the point that Jen made earlier. So you said about experiencing reality every day. Well, what we're presented with in terms of its falsifiability, that's a real word, but yeah, we've got what's on screen. So how am I going to get up there and falsify this? How am I going to test it and check that it's real? Well, you're saying that you experience this, literally what's on screen, as part of your reality, and it factually
nobody's really asserted that, but if you tracked the ISS and you saw it like Mr. B can see it with actually nice equipment, I mean, you could probably assert from that yeah there's something up there flying. You couldn't really prove that there's people in it.
Right, so yeah, you're not Jeremy. I mean, we've established your point. You don't generally take NASA as proof. Jeremy's got a different tack to this. So, you know.
Yeah, but hold on. What is this conversation about? Because it's very disjointed. So are we talking about the shape of the Earth? Or are we just going to go with any non sequitur about the composition of stars, or NASA looks fake to you, so we have to be put in false dilemmas? Or, I mean, come on. Like, where's this going?
I think Nathan's trying to lead me somewhere, and I'm happy to go there. You know.
Reality. You used the word reality, and you said what we experience daily. And this is factually, in terms of its 2D presentation, is what we experience daily. We do not experience what we are being shown daily. Au contraire, we far from experience that.
We see it on a TV screen.
So I don't use it as evidence.
I mean, I think we can argue it's still an experience, I guess.
Right.
You can take into account the fact that it is on a TV screen as to how, how valid you think it is, and obviously that limits how much of an experience it is by definition. But watching it on TV wouldn't be the same as being there, but it would give you an idea of what it was like to be there.
It's just like going deep sea into the furthest deep sea. Like the rich guys can do it, but we're not able to do it. Does it mean that I'm going to deny everything that comes out of research from the deep sea? No, absolutely not. It's ridiculous.
You can present something that's false. You can present, I'm sure that this is an old argument, but you can present King Kong on a screen and you can get an idea of what it would be like to battle King Kong.
I would agree, but I mean, for instance, I'm not great on the ISS, to be honest. My thing is more Apollo, and I know you guys. If I dare to suggest the moon landings happened, you guys just laugh at me.
I don't laugh at you. I understand that that's what I've been there, man. I used to be.
You think that's hilarious?
I used to be just like you. I used to be dumb, just like you, Jeremy.
Yeah, I mean, I think you probably haven't been where I am, because it's kind of been a hobby of mine for a long time, and I know a fair amount about it. Or maybe you do. Maybe you have. But and when I look at that, what I do is I look at all of the evidence that I can find that surrounds it, and from that I form what I believe is a reasonable belief that these events happened. And I don't do that just on what NASA say. There's a lot of independent evidence that most people know nothing about, that tells me it's reasonable to believe that these events occurred, or if they didn't, there's the conspiracy theories have a lot of explaining to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, let me ask everybody on the panel. Let's go around the panel, and I want to ask everybody this question. Let's just do like a little bit of a thought experiment. Let's just say in an alternate universe, the current paradigm was that we live on a flat Earth, okay? And everything else is pretty much the same. Now, what do you guys think that would mean for society?
Nothing.
It wouldn't mean anything.
There's no difference. And really, even if the Earth was flat, it doesn't mean that you're some special, tadpole to God, and there's some dome, crested with your name in it or something. I mean, it could be an expansive universe on a flat Earth as well. So I mean, these very appeal to emotionally fucking things that the flat earthers do is just ridiculous. So I don't even know what the fuck your question was. Go ahead, Jeremy.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're saying everything was the same, then we would, for me, that would mean there would be a naturalistic explanation, for the shape of the Earth. It would comply in some way with the laws of physics.
Yeah.
What I really
to explain it.
What I was really trying to get at is that, like, do you guys think that we'd be like some kind of fucked up barbaric society? What do you think? What's so wrong about maybe believing the Earth is a flat plane? Why are you guys you're so obsessed and you hang around us?
Because it's not the truth. It's not the truth, and you guys pitch it as the truth, and you guys really believe it, and people like us waste countless hours trying to tell you, hey dude.
What is the harm? What is the harm?
I don't know. I guess. Go ahead, Jeremy. Fuck.
Okay. Well, I mean, I think it's a fair question. Why we hang around, and it's definitely a question I ask myself a lot, and it's not a question I always have the same answer to. So, I don't know whether that means I'm really being honest with myself all the time. But I mean, I think there's a few reasons. I mean, one, I think the subject itself is fascinating. I like the space and, the science and the cosmology. I like all that stuff. And it kind of gives me a sort of if you like, a light-hearted way to learn it, that isn't sort of sitting in a lecture or, swatting over books. So I kind of like that aspect to it. But I do find it fascinating that people like you and Nathan, who are perfectly reasonable, decent, intelligent human beings, believe such utter crap. I find that quite fascinating.
I believe what I see with my own senses.
From my point of view, I hasten to add. So yeah, there's that, and then there's also sort of a community aspect to it, sort of a bit of a soap opera bit to it that is also entertaining. I'll shut up now.
I'd like to answer to VB ask, like, what's the harm in flat Earth? Because I see a ton, like, if I search Cavendish flat Earth right now, I'll get a bunch of horrible misinformation.
Right.
I mean, if I look in YouTube comments and I see people arguing for the flat Earth, I see misinformation being said and people made to look like fools.
Look, if it's objectively false, if it is really a sphere, then all of it is disinfo and misinfo. It's kind of like me going and talking to Hillbilly and him having an argument that, every 18 years we should have a 1/4 of a degree movement on the stars. First of all, he's never tested it himself. Second of all, he was doing the math for the heliocentric model and just completely envisioning it wrong. He was conceptualizing it wrong, and I told him right there. So, after that, he's still right to himself. So it's an endless battle that I'm done with. Like, I don't care.
I swear it came from Tavistock to be a circular argument that goes nowhere. And I enjoyed, I hung out with flat earthers, and I never really talked about the globe with them. I just avoided that, and I talk about 9/11 or Sandy Hook or whatever. And
look up Cass Sunstein. Man.
Every evidence
it's Cass Sunstein that did this.
Every evidence a flat earther has given me, upon scrutiny, just falls apart or proves the globe.
But what is flat Earth distracting you from? Back to the thing we were talking about 2 hours ago. Yeah. What is it pulling you away from? Your activism in 9/11. Your activism.
It's destroyed the truth movement. The truth movement is.
Hey, you guys are kind of done. Sorry, P.
Why isn't the truth movement strong enough to just move forward and ignore flat Earth? Well, what's that about?
Because the mentality of the conspiracy theorists will fall for things like the flat Earth, and that's kind of why they did it. So it doesn't really matter why we're here. I guess I would like to kind of make a cogent argument for this whole conversation that we're having, because it's just very disjointed, and it's like we're on trial here, when really you guys have the extreme claims that the Earth is flat. You guys believe this. So I wish that you guys would produce some evidence instead of things that you can't justify saying, such as, NASA is all fake and playing it for hours on end. I mean, can you guys provide anything besides your primary knowledge you just adapt all your knowledge to?
We've already gone through this. It's basic standpoint of everybody's observable reality. It's beyond that. You've got to prove the extraordinary. And
So if there's declination and if there's obstruction, which there is when we go and see things like the Chicago skyline on a day-to-day basis, this does kind of put a check mark in the evidence box of the globe Earth. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
And we don't need an ad hoc excuse like Flat Earth does.
I'm trying to build up that checklist. We've got DogCam now. We've got Chicago skyline. We've got NASA. We've got.
We've been over a geodetic survey. We've been over a lot of stuff, but really the thing is, for me, that gets me started is just thinking of all the invalid arguments of flat Earth. That's what brings me to think of the things that I can say in this conversation.
Yeah, we can do that, but I don't want to have an argument with you. You've pointed out. I mean, we've got PMR saying it's Tavistock Institute, bringing it in such fashion that it creates lots of circular arguments. Well, let's not do that. Why not go from the point that I want to say, obviously it's flat. We've all admitted it. We've all said that that's how we deal with life in general. So beyond that, you've got to back up an extraordinary claim. Now, so far, the strongest one, if I just take it at face value, is NASA. That's Gem Panda's proof that we live on a spinning ball.
Let's not go back in.
No. Do not mischaracterize that.
Don't do that.
As we said before, the proof is it's a body of evidence that leads you to believe something to be proved.
Sure,
it isn't a bit here and a bit there,
Give me a bit more then.
So Nathan, I would love for you to bring arguments to the table, as I've said before, because like I said, it triggers what I have in my knowledge bank to say what is, a counter explanation for the things that you believe, your presuppositions and such.
Sure. Well, I've said it about 3 times.
Okay. Let's go with your first thing. So yes, from our primary knowledge, we observe it and it's flat. Okay. So does this debunk the globe Earth that says that we're on a 25,000 mile circumference ball when we're this small? No, it doesn't. So move on.
Well, you can't just. That's whoa. So you're straight back to jumping from A to Z here. So we're back from, does saying that it's obviously an observable flat debunk the fact that we're on a spinning ball? Well, whoa, that's a big step right there. That don't make me think suddenly I'm on a spinning ball. Let's be honest.
Let's go over the like I said, the obstruction. Why is there obstruction on a flat Earth? Can you explain that? You could see that with your primary knowledge, with your eyeballs, the obstruction.
I'll add that to the list. Obstruction. Still not really convinced from what you've told me on this list. Gent long, lots of arguments in between. It ain't put me on a spinning ball flying through space.
That's not, like I said before, I'm not actually trying to do that. And this is your tactic to take over this whole conversation and continue.
Right, and just adding things to a list, I mean, you need to address the issues on those on that list,
Yeah. You believe the Earth is flat, so why do you believe that? And you said, well, you can't, from your primary knowledge, you can't, it's flat. Well, okay, so have you ever looked for declination on a mountain with geodetic surveying equipment? No. So how do you explain obstruction? I don't know, or I'm just going to dodge it, or so these are things. These are evidences for the globe Earth and not for flat Earth, and you have no counter explanation.
So you're saying, right? In order for me to prove to myself that I'm on a spinning ball, I need to climb a mountain with some geodetic survey equipment. That's what you're telling me I need to do.
I'm saying to give you evidence that you're on a sphere. I don't care about the spinning ball thing that you guys like to say. Like I said before, I'd like to establish that it's either a sphere or flat. We don't need to do geo or helio. But so if there is declination with the geodetic surveying equipment, that would be a checkbox in the globe Earth, right, and not in the flat Earth, unless you want to have ad hoc explanations.
You're talking about measuring just some small segment of land, right?
You could do it at multiple points. You could do it anywhere you want. I said, obstruction is right there for anyone to see, and for anybody that says, oh, wow, the boat is being obstructed, and I bring out my shiny P900 and it's all back into zoom, it is lying, and it's bullshit, all right? Because a lot of times there are atmospheric conditions that make it fucked up in different ways.
I agree, but I'm compiling a story, and I want to tell this story to a guy in, I don't know, Mongolia or wherever the hell it is, that they have no idea about the ideas and concepts of the globe. If there's such a place on the planet that exists, I want to find that cave-dwelling guy and he thinks he's on a flat plane because it's obvious and observable, as we've established.
This is another way of putting exactly what you've put like 5 times.
Yeah. But I want to tell him a story, and I want to take him on his story, and I want to say to this caveman, right, if you went to the North or South Pole and you observed the lights in the sky, that's point 1. Point 2, look, here's my footage of the dog camp. Can you see this slight curve? Right, that's point number 2. Point number 3, we're going to climb this mountain. I'm going to take geodetic surveying equipment with me, and I'm going to show you through the lens that there is a curvature to the Earth. That's point number 3. Point number 4, look at all... Now, this isn't yours. Put that caveat, it's Gems. Here, look at all this wonderful footage from NASA. They're flying around this spinning ball that we live on, right? Now, that's caveat over. You know, what else you got? This is my story that I'm going to tell my caveman. And at the end of it, I'm hoping he's going to go, yeah, man, I live on a ball.
Well, like I said, 3 times already, if you would come with a few cogent arguments that you believe about the flat Earth, I could counter them, and you could add to your little bucket list or whatever you're compiling over there.
What you need, man? I'm not making any extraordinary claims. What you need?
You said that the Earth is flat. That is absolutely an extraordinary claim. You have no justification to say that, but you believe it.
But in spite of that, it's obvious and observable. So how does that work?
No, it's not obvious and observable when you haven't done any tests. You just say, oh, well, look, it's flat.
Are these obvious tests? Climbing a mountain with geodetic equipment? Or would you say these are subtle tests? I mean, come on. This is obvious.
Well, there's more tests if you want to get into
the
them.
North Pole? Are you having me on? Are you in life? This is
You don't have to go to the North Pole. All you have to do.
No, you don't. He completely got that wrong. He doesn't understand about circumpolar stars. He doesn't understand about
list, then. Jen, that off the
latitude.
List? Should I cross it off? Is that not Jem saying something contradictory now? Do I cross that off or not? Is that part of my story? Do I go to the South Pole?
No, what he's talking about is the celestial poles. Okay, that's the stars rotating around an apparent pole in the night sky. It doesn't mean you have to actually visit the North Pole.
In the northern and the southern hemisphere, there's different stars.
Got it. Right. I'm underlining it. Real good proof of being on a ball. North and
well, you have to conceptualize. Hold on, you have to conceptualize on any flat map. No matter how you cut it up, these southern countries will not work with what we can observe in the sky. Now, when you look at the heliocentric model or the geocentric model, like I said before, the empirical evidence does match with the model. That's why you guys don't have a model. That's why you guys now say that we don't need a model. We just need to believe, and we need to do conventions.
You don't need them uncomfy shoes, man. Just shake them off. You don't need them. You don't need to prove what we can't see and what we can't do. I'm just trying to compile a story from a Mongolian man.
Well, the beginning of your story, the 2 celestial poles, the issue which you haven't addressed, is there is no other geometric shape which works, Nathan. There isn't.
There isn't.
Okay, I'll write that down to tell him. Look, man, there's no other shape that works.
to work.
It's lovely that you can giggle, Nathan, and that may be a great rebuttal in flat Earth circles. But
reasonable.
Giggling isn't really much of a response.
No, we're here to be put on trial and to prove for his Mongolian friend that
Right.
So Nathan, it's just a joke at this point, Nathan.
I mean, after the time, considering your prominence in this awakening, and the time you've spent in it, you should have
zero evidence. Zero evidence you bring. Zero.
Right. So I've said it already. Obvious and observable. From there.
Okay, and I've said already too that that's what we would expect on a 25,000 mile in circumference ball. So you've debunked nothing. You've just made a false assertion because of what you can see.
Off, man. I'm not trying to assert anything. You're demanding that.
Yeah, you are. You say that the Earth is flat. That's a straight assertion.
You're trying to convince me on this journey.
No, I'm not.
No, we're not.
I keep saying this isn't your show where you.
We're not doing that, Nathan, haven't we?
Okay.
We've repeatedly said that.
I've said it probably 4 times, Nathan.
Yeah.
So I would love if you brought some evidence besides your very circumstantial, very, firsthand knowledge kind of evidence to lead you to believe.
And the giggling. There was some
knowledge.
Well, there's denial too. He thinks that all space is fake.
I've got circumstantial first-hand knowledge.
So how about let me bring up? Let me just argue the flat Earth, since there are no flat earthers here with balls. How about that?
Tell me about the globe.
How about that? No, this is what has to happen to invoke some kind of conversation. So, Gem Panda, I think that you can't have a vacuum attached to a non-vacuum. What do you have to say about that?
Do you like that one, Nathan?
Vacuum next to a non-vacuum.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a common flat Earth fallacy out of the compilation of logical fallacies.
I don't know. Should I be writing this down to tell my caveman to convince him?
No, like we said, this is not about your fictional theoretical caveman. Okay, dude. If you're here for actual information, if you're here for actual truth, then you should take what we say as some evidence to look into. Now, for me to explain the star trails and for you to say, well, I have to go to the North Pole to see it, that's not what I said at all. That's not what I said at all. You obviously don't know what circumpolar stars are. You obviously don't understand how the celestial sphere works in general. Arc star trails in the equator. I mean, I've seen this shit myself. I haven't seen Sigma Octantis, but I have seen the South Celestial Pole. This kind of thing it should be on your bucket list to do instead of telling some fictional Mongolian buddy.
Right. So there's a lot of assumptions about what I have and haven't done.
I'm still curious how some intangible light in some intangible sky
It's not intangible.
somewhere.
You need to learn a new word. It's not intangible. It's definitely tangible. You're saying it's fake.
I'm not saying it's fake. I'm saying you don't know what it is.
Real.
It could be real, but you don't know what it is and where it is and why it's there, how it's there. You don't know any of those things.
Okay, so you're going to bring up this argument. Can we get some arguments from you guys about the flat Earth instead of saying the same thing over and over again?
We've all as a group already conceded that wherever I am relative to me, as far as I can see, the Earth appears flat to me.
Great.
Okay.
It's a flat
Did
ball.
you also concede that our senses are quite unreliable and quite limited? Did we concede that?
The flat ball. That's what I love statements like that.
I mean, would you say
No, I literally say it's a flat ball. It literally is a flat
and
ball.
unreliable.
So to us, to our perspective, it's a flat ball, Nathan.
So why do you need that caveat then? If it's not the standard, the norm to assume that it's flat, why would you need to put that caveat into a statement like that? In other words,
who my caveat?
You're saying, because the reason I say that is because you're saying, give me a proof, but then the things you say have caveats that take into account the fact that it's obviously and observably flat. So you wouldn't need those. Yeah. So I don't need to present you with any evidence.
It is observably flat, like I said, with a 25,000 mile in circumference. Nathan, and how small we are, we would expect it to look this way.
I don't need to give any evidence for the bloody obvious. What are you asking for? You're asking for the impossible. You're asking me to prove the bloody obvious, right? Beyond that, beyond the bloody obvious, you prove it to me.
So what's bloody obvious about the obstruction? Hold on, about the Chicago skyline and the Toronto skyline and stuff like that. Obstruction.
That's been written down.
How is that explained on the flat Earth?
Written it. I'll underline that one too.
How is that explained on the flat Earth? Because it's a checkbox for the globe.
I'm trying to get onto a spinning or non-spinning. Sorry.
See, you are just delling this whole conversation. Do you understand?
Yeah, you are.
Are you not going to stick up for your convictions, Nathan? Because this is extremely telling to me.
I'm trying to be educated by you. I'm giving you an opportunity to convince me.
No, Nathan, you've educated yourself supposedly for 2 years on this subject, Nathan. So you shouldn't need us to spoon feed you. You should have arguments for your convictions and your belief, Nathan.
Right.
Well, what do you want from me? You've heard all the arguments. What could I?
I have. I would like you to say some of the arguments so that I can tell you the explanation for the globe Earth.
Why?
Because you are telling me to prove to a Mongolian friend when I can't really... I mean, dude, you understand how in-depth this subject gets. So if you were to say, like I said earlier about the vacuum to a non-vacuum, I would explain how that works on a sphere. And I would also explain furthermore how it doesn't work on an enclosed system in any way because we have a pressure gradient, Nathan.
Right.
So, if you can bring up anything about the flat Earth that you believe in, I would love it. Love it.
Okay, but if these little steps, once written down, I try to read them back to myself and go, yeah, man, I can see all these things in a chain can convince anybody that they're living on a ball. It makes perfect sense to me, you know. But so far, I'm not convinced, and you're saying, "Wow, that's not what we're here for." Man,
It's
it's
not.
like you don't like the shoe being on the other foot at all, do you? Wow, it's amazing to see it.
Hold on, the shoe is
No,
always
actually,
on our-
always on our foot. Yes, it's always the onus is always on the globe believers to a flat Earth. Me
there
and
are
me and
almost
Jeremy have
no
been doing
flat
this for
Earth.
over a year, dude. Over a
They're
year with these flat
You're
earthers.
all globe skeptics. Almost none
Yeah.
of you are flat earthers.
Now they used to be. They used to proclaim
Right.
it from the mountaintop. Now they're like, none of this works, so we're just gonna say we don't know what the fuck it is. It's definitely not a sphere, though.
None of your sky.
Oh, we
none of
know
your
it's not moving.
You guys are slowly
your-
having an effect.
I
But
hear more and more these days.
none of your sky nonsense proves a globe to me.
It's evidence. Okay, so let's use this proof word. Let's try to use it correctly, VB. Okay, because I've corrected you like 7 times in this whole chat, dude.
Okay. It's
But
not.
So it's evidence.
I would go back, and I think again the problem is with the basis of this philosophy that you're using. The idea that Nathan's sort of presenting the idea that, or he's just happy with knowing about the bit of the world that he can see around him, and he's quite happy to just pretend the rest of it doesn't exist, or that it's all exactly the same as the bit that he's looking at, and he's presenting that as if it's a reasonable idea and a reasonable approach to gaining knowledge, and it's not. It's a silly approach.
I think I'm the one that's been saying that. I don't think you can speak for Nathan and put those words in Nathan's mouth. I'm the one that's been saying that.
What he was just saying. That was the argument.
Hey, I would like to. We've been talking a lot. I would like to pass it off to Ed for a second, if you have any comments.
Yeah, sure. Oh, I think Ed was AFK for a bit.
Yeah. Oh, he's AFK. Okay.
Yeah, he's waiting for his wife.
Well, P, if you have anything to say, try to get some other people on. We've been hogging it.
I'll go soon. It's like 3 in the morning here.
Oh shit! Thanks for being on so late. You guys, you UK guys are fucking wild, man.
yeah, you guys are real
Seriously,
troopers.
stay up so late.
Insomnia. Right, I'm
Yeah.
gonna fly off from the ISS. See you later.